And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gerber versus Holtmeyer. Step forward, please.
27-year-old nurse Lauren Gerber is suing her former friend, nurse's aide Gregory Holtmeyer, for punching her windshield. Gregory claims it never happened.
Ms. Gerber, the defendant was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that he twice damaged your car. You want him to pay for the damage. Mr. Holtmeyer said he never damaged your car. You're just annoyed because he no longer wants to be a friend of yours, and he's moved on to a relationship with somebody, a relationship that he believes you wanted to have with him, but he wasn't interested. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I read your answer. If there's anything that I said there that's wrong, please correct me.
That's close.
I like to be precise.
That was precise.
Don't be annoying, Mr. Holtmeyer. All right, Ms. Gerber, when was the first time he damaged your car?
Was in February of 2002.
Under what circumstances?
He was pulling my vehicle out of the driveway, which was next to my house, and he got a little too close to the house, and it hit the driver's side mirror, which shattered and also scraped the left fender.
And you were in the car at the time?
I was in the passenger seat.
When was the second time he damaged your car?
September of 2003.
Tell me about that.
We had been at my apartment watching a Cowboys-Giants game, and on the way home, punched the inside of the windshield with his fist, which he wears a Dallas ring on, and that's what hit the glass and shattered.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
And what did he say at that time? That was September of 2003.
That he was sorry and go get an estimate. He'd pay whatever the estimate was for it.
Between February 2002 and September of 2003, did you let him drive your car?
On occasion.
How come you stopped being friends?
In October, we had made plans for him to move in with me. His mother had to move to St. Louis, and he had nowhere to stay. The day before he was scheduled to move in, I hadn't heard from him. The day of, I still hadn't heard from him. I went to the house, and it was completely empty. Everything was gone, and that's the last time I'd heard from him.
What made you decide to pursue the 2-year-old broken mirror on your car?
Because in October, he was still saying once he was waiting on an insurance settlement from an accident last March when he got run over by a truck.
Did you fix this mirror on your car?
The mirror I did fix. It was undrivable with it broken.
And how much did it cost to fix the mirror?
It was $140.
And how much is the windshield?
$242.30. I have pictures of that.
I'd like to see it. Let's hear about this side mirror in February of 2002, sir.
I don't know anything about that. When I'd come home from Indiana, I did Kohler, and I would go over to her house, and we would sometimes drink and watch TV or hang out on the porch and just talk about, at that time she was seeing Lance, a boyfriend of hers. And
to hear this.
That night, I guess the night she's talking about, I don't remember driving her car home. So that's news to me. If I broke anything or ran into something, I would like to see evidence of that.
No, what she said was that you were pulling out of her driveway.
Impossible.
Why is it impossible?
I'd have to be in the driver's seat.
Yes. And you never drove her car?
I drove it on occasion, but not that night.
How do you know?
Because I know.
Well,
I got out on the passenger side and went home.
You're talking about 2 years ago.
Exactly.
You remember 2 years ago?
I remember a lot of things. I got a good memory.
You're a smart aleck.
Maybe. I know if I was driving the car, I wasn't driving the car. I got out of the passenger side and went into my house.
Do you see my mouth moving? When my mouth moves, yours doesn't. What do you do for a living?
Certified nursing aide.
Okay. Do you take care of elderly people?
Yes, I do.
Are you supposed to be kind and understanding when
I am.
you take care of elderly people?
Yes.
And respectful?
Yes.
This is my space. Let's remember that. Have I said anything that was disrespectful to you so far?
Okay.
Have I said anything that was wise-alecky to you?
No.
Do you think you have said things that are disrespectful to me?
Probably.
Is there any particular reason for that, Mr. Holtmeyer?
Just nervous.
Well, sometimes when people are nervous, their palms sweat and they become quiet. So you mean when you're nervous, you become nasty? Is that what you're telling me?
I guess.
Clearly. When you're nervous, you become nasty. I would certainly hope that your employers will be watching this case so that they can ascertain what happens to you when you become under stress. February of 2002. is what you're telling me that you remember the night that she's talking about, and you were not driving the car,
Nope.
and nothing happened that night.
Not to my knowledge. I got out of the
You-
passenger side and went home that night. The same with the windshield. I got a call 2 days after the fact, and it said I broke her windshield. And I said, I did what? She said,
Maybe you had so too much to drink. Mr. Holtmeyer, I also think that the people who allow you to take care of older people should understand that when you have too much to drink, you don't remember things. And that could be a very dangerous thing when you're taking care of people who are infirm. The people who you work for are now on notice that that's, as far as I'm concerned, a real problem that you have. You owe her $382, sir, and that's $140 for her mirror and $242 from breaking her windshield. Both of those things I find that you did. Thank you very much. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $382. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We've been very good friends for about 7 years. I'd done a lot of things for him, numerous, and just apparently didn't know what kind of a person he was until now.
people perceive the wrong things when I first speak, and they assume.
I feel that he's dishonest, and that pretty much wraps it up. Uses people.
I didn't do it.
Sometimes I'm just too nice, and I get taken for granted.
Number 233 on the calendar, the matter Holtz versus Fleming. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Who is this, Miss Holtz?
That's my witness, my husband.
According to your complaint, Mrs. Holtz, the defendant one evening backed his truck into your car,
That is correct.
and you want him to pay for the damage.
That is
She really wasn't awake at the time of the collision, is that right?
correct.
You were awakened by the noise.
Correct.
So let me go back to you. What time, sir, did this accident take place?
9:30, quarter to 10.
In the evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
No.
What time was it?
1 a.m.
Oh, it was.
9:30 according to the defendant, 1 a.m. according to the plaintiff. Where had you been that evening, Mr. Fleming?
Work.
Is not an answer.
No, I'm sorry. I was working and I was test driving a truck and
What kind of work do you do?
contractor.
What kind of a contractor?
I'll build a house from the ground up.
Well, you weren't working, sir, at either 9:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning. So let's start at 6 o'clock. Where were you at 6 p.m.?
In the process of finding a vehicle.
Where were you looking for it?
A little bit of everywhere.
What does that mean, Mr. Fleming? Don't play with me. Were you looking for it in a store, or
No.
were you looking for it through ads in the
No.
paper?
Just wherever. Honest to God, honest to God, I was just looking on the streets for sale signs on trucks here and there.
All right, that was at 6 o'clock. From 6 o'clock until
As
what
far as
time?
it-
Shh.
I'm sorry. Okay.
From 6 o'clock until what time were you looking for a truck, Mr. Fleming?
Until the time that I did come across this particular truck.
So you found the truck,
It was a truck that was on the side of the street, had a for sale sign in it.
and so you called the owner,
No, I knocked on his door.
and you said, "Can I take your truck for a test drive?"
Yes, ma'am.
And the person said, "Okay." Mm-hmm. So between the hours of, say, 6 p.m. and, according to you, 9:30 p.m., and according to the plaintiff, 1 o'clock in the morning, when did you have dinner?
More than likely, I didn't have.
Now, when you backed the truck into her car, you said that you got out of your car and you went to her house and knocked at the door.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say when you knocked at the door?
I said, I backed in your car. And I would like to pay for it out of courtesy.
No, common courtesy. It was your fault.
Well, yeah.
You said you wanted to pay for it because it was your fault.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's not courtesy. It's because it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
So you're in bed sleeping.
Yeah.
What did you hear?
My car alarm going off. I got up, looked out the window, and I saw him turning his truck around to park it on the other side of the street. My husband at that time went outside to look at the...
We used to see each other all the time.
You have children?
Yes.
How old are your children?
Well, there's 7 all total with his son.
You have 7 children with him.
They're not like both of ours.
Do you have any children with him?
No,
No.
ma'am.
Do you have any?
They're very nice people.
That's settled, no hard feelings.
We had to come to this, and that's fine.
He told me he'd pay me more than what the damages were worth. So I thought I'd give him the benefit of the doubt.
It was only fair I was going to do that.
I'll pay you when I get paid.
I was going to pay.
Then he drinks it away, you know.
I'm ready to have a beer as I speak.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Stevens versus Stokes. Step forward, please.
Bus driver Joseph Stevens is suing his ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old service representative Ginger Stokes, for the return of child support.
According to your complaint, you and Miss Stokes had a relationship. I don't know what kind of relationship, and Miss Stokes became pregnant. She took you to court for child support because at that time you were no longer in a relationship. You began paying child support for this child, a boy or a girl?
Boy.
And then you discovered that the child was not yours.
Yes, ma'am.
Biologically. So you want the support payments back that you gave to the defendant.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, when were you and Miss Stokes in a relationship?
Around December 2000.
Until when?
About April or June between 2002.
2002 or 2001?
2001, I'm sorry.
During that time, did you live together?
Well, at that time, she was having problems at her house. So she asked, can she come stay with me? And she came and stayed with me for a little while.
What's a little while?
It was no more than like 2-3 months.
Okay. When did she tell you she was pregnant?
She told me she was pregnant around about April.
What did she tell you?
She came up and told me that she was pregnant, and I told her that, how could you be pregnant when, we've been using, protection. And then...
Who was using the protection?
I was.
Did you see her during her pregnancy?
No.
Did she call you when the baby was born?
Yes, she had called my mother's house. She had called me at the time that she was in the hospital and kept telling my mom for me to come up there to see the baby.
Did you go up to see the baby?
No, ma'am.
Why not, Mr. Stevens?
Because I felt as though that the baby, wasn't mine. And I just didn't want to go up there.
Did there come a time when you went to see the baby?
No.
Did there come a time that you were notified that they were taking some money from your paycheck?
No, the only time I found out is whenever I got a letter from her going down to the courthouse.
When did you go down to seek child support?
The beginning of 2003.
How old was the baby?
He was 6-7 months.
Is there any reason you waited to seek child support until the baby was 6 or 7 months old?
Yes. He at one point did come and we were talking on the phone and said that he would like us to be together, that he wanted us, the three of us, to be together, that he felt that that was his child. At the time I had finally met somebody else and I didn't want to be with him. And after that, he wasn't coming around, he wasn't doing anything. I needed to go for child support.
Now, Ms. Stokes, how much money did you receive from Mr. Stevens after the court fixed a child support order?
A little over $800.
Is that right, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Stevens, I'd like you to tell me how ultimately this mystery was unraveled and you determined that this child was not yours.
Well, the job that me and her used to work at, there was people there telling me that, she was up there saying that the baby wasn't mine.
So you heard from sources that this child might not be yours, but you already knew that, Mr. Stevens.
Yes, I
mean, you already knew, based upon your use of protection, that there was at least a possibility that this child wasn't yours, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there was already a child support order in place, Mr. Stevens, is that right?
Yes.
Now, as an old family court practitioner, I know that you were served with a notice to appear in the family court on the issue of paternity, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't go,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Why not?
Well, at the time, I was having a problem with my other 3 kids. And by that time, I was practically scared to go to the court.
You were scared to go to the court because?
I figured that I might have had a warrant or something like that.
Because you weren't paying child support?
Yes, at that time, because I wasn't working that much.
I'm glad you added that much. If you're going to make all these babies, Mr. Stevens, then you better get a lot of jobs.
Yes, ma'am.
Not work part-time. If you work part-time, you got all this energy. So you decided to blow off court, and they issued a default judgment against you, declared you to be the father. If you had gone to court immediately and said, listen, I want a blood test, they would have taken a blood test and they would have said, you're off the hook on this one.
But at that time, when I wanted to get a paternity test, I even talked to her about it. She kept telling me that they's not going to be able to do it, and you might have to pay for it out of your pocket.
Better off paying for it out of your pocket, sir, a couple of $100 than pay for 21 years. Right?
Yes.
You can't be short-sighted. You don't have any children together?
No.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
3.
So between you have 6 children?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that enough?
Oh.
Plenty.
Plenty, right? Plenty. 6 children. Now you're working full-time?
Yes.
Good. What kind of work do you do?
School bus driver.
Well, you must like children. Okay, how much did they take out of your pay, Mr. Stevens?
$842 altogether.
$842?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Miss Stokes, did we finally come up with a daddy for your baby?
Yes.
Is there a paternity proceeding pending, or has one been
No.
finalized?
No.
Why not?
So I have no idea where he is, and I don't want to pursue it because he's my son and he's my world, and I'm going to take care of him regardless.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $842. Thank you.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
I'm very happy that the judge gave me back my money.
I'm just glad it's over.
If he was mine, I just wish that I would have been there for him.
It's been a struggle trying to take care of what I need to take care of.
I don't have no grudge against Miss Stokes.
I'm going to take care of him.
Yes, this is case number 244 on the calendar in the matter of Perriman versus Brewington. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Perryman, your complaint is rather lengthy, as is your former husband's answer. So let me see if I can simplify what I perceive to be the issue in this case. You and the defendant were married and have 2 children?
3.
3 children. And you live where?
In Colorado.
And Mr. Brewington moved to Alaska.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had an agreement with him that you would split the cost of visitation with the children to Alaska. And Mr. Brewington, did you come down and pick up the children?
Yes, I did.
And it was your arrangement with your former wife that she would pay for the other half of the ticket before you did that?
Yes.
But then at some point, according to you, you changed your mind.
Yes.
Because she said to you, I don't have the money to pay for the ticket. If you want to see the children, you have to pay for the ticket. I have no money for that.
Yes.
Right.
I paid for the whole ticket.
So you said to her, fine, I want to see the kids. I want the children to visit with me in Alaska, so I will pay for the ticket both ways. But at some point during the course of the visitation, you changed your mind. And you called her and said, if you want the kids back, you better get a ticket.
First, he said, if I want the kids back, I have to come get them myself.
And you said to him?
I told him he was going to bring my kids back, or I was calling the police.
And he said?
Call him.
Does that sound right?
No.
Close.
Close, but not right.
Close. Because she had changed the rules by saying, I can't afford to send the kids and pay for half the ticket. You said, okay, I'll take care of it. And at some point, then you changed your mind and wanted her to pay what she had agreed to pay in the beginning, right?
I didn't ask her to pay for half the tickets. I just asked her to either come up and get the children or to get me a ticket back the day I flew to Denver with them.
Well, listen, let's not split hairs, sir. If she wanted the children back and she has custody of the children, then you told her to either come get them yourself, which means that she'd have to pay for her ticket back and forth, right?
Yes.
Or pay for my ticket, right?
Yes.
Because the kids are too small to travel by themselves.
Yes.
So far correct? And Miss Perryman says that the reason she didn't have any money is because you don't pay child support.
That's incorrect.
How much does he pay in child
I'm
support?
supposed to pay $488 a month. It's hit and miss each month.
Just a second. $488 per month, 3 children. Okay. What kind of work do you do in Alaska, sir?
I don't work. I'm a full-time student.
Well, if you're a full-time student, how do you pay this $488 a month?
I don't. I'm working with the state of Alaska now, as previous I was working with Colorado to get it lowered.
Well, how old are you, Mr. Brewington?
I'm 28.
What makes you think you can be a full-time student after you fathered 3 children?
I'm a disabled vet going to school through Chapter 31 Voc Rehab.
I don't care if you're a Purple Heart winner. What makes you think that somebody who looks like you, who's built like you, who eats like you do, can stop working and go to school full-time when you've got 3 children to support? What gives you the right to do that?
I did it. That's what I need to do to get a better career so I can support my children better.
Well, that's all very, very nice. You expect them to go into a state of suspended animation while you get your act together?
No, but I didn't expect Mrs. Perryman over there to quit her job and to be in school as well.
Somebody is feeding your children. Who is it?
The state.
How old are your children?
3, 6, and 8.
What was so interesting about Alaska that caused you to move from Colorado to Alaska?
I was born and raised in Alaska.
And where did you live when you were married to Miss Perryman?
We lived all over. Oklahoma, Alaska, California, and then Colorado.
And how long did you live in Colorado?
About 3.5 years.
So Colorado was the home state of your family.
I guess.
Didn't it strike you, Mr. Brewington, that if you moved to Alaska, even though it's a place that you grew up, it would be difficult for you to have regular contact and visitation with your children?
Yes, I understood that.
And you were willing to make that sacrifice?
Yes, I was.
And you were willing to make that sacrifice on behalf of your children as well?
I call my children almost every day.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
How much was the plane ticket?
$159. Plus, we had to drive 4 hours away to go pick up the kids in Denver, which was gas, and we spent one night in the hotel the night before because the plane arrived a little bit before 7 in the morning.
You've got a lot of little expenses here, including, according to you, mental anguish. I can't give you mental anguish. Listen, he didn't turn into this overnight.
No, he didn't, but
okay? And you were not smart enough not to have the second child with him and the third child with him. Should have, figured it out right away. Any man that has 3 children that can move thousands of miles away from their 3 young children because he wants to pursue a career in education is not somebody that I would father 3 children with.
He was a responsible father up until November of 2001, and
And then what happened?
He told me that he didn't feel the same way, and everything went downhill from there.
I don't care if he doesn't feel the same way about you. He's got 3 children.
Well, it turned his look on everything, I guess.
Well, when was the last time you received $488 from him?
The full amount of $488 would be July of 2003. He paid a little bit over to catch up because for the previous 3 months there was no payment at all.
When was the last time you received any money from him?
June of this year. It was $50.
Okay. Where do your parents live?
In Alaska.
You live with them?
Yes, I live with my mother.
Mr. Brewington, I don't think you're doing the right thing, sir. I think you ought to do a lot of soul searching.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Perryman says ex-husband Jason Brewington owes for the cost of a plane ticket. Jason says Christy owes him for the cost to visit his children.
Now, do you have a legal agreement that provides that you pay for half of the cost of the children to go to visit him?
In September of 2002, I agreed to do that on document and with the court. In August, the beginning of August, I have it stated that the magistrate ruled that I am released from all financial obligation of visitation.
Right.
And I have that paperwork.
Right. He wants to see his children? Let him get a job and make enough money to get a ticket to come and pick them up. And if he wants to take them to Alaska to see his parents, which would be a nice thing, fine. Other than that, I think that you're absolutely nuts to do a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $159. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was fair.
I think I was robbed.
She knows that I'm not responsible to pay for the plane tickets.
She was required to pay for half the plane ticket. She never did.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Avila versus Young. Step forward, please.
22-year-old homemaker Crystal Avila is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old construction worker Justin Young, for the cost of a broken windshield. Justin claims the window was broken by Crystal's 4-year-old daughter.
Have a seat.
Miss Avila, this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
She's 4.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Young used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Young?
19.
19.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
22.
He's not your boyfriend anymore?
No, ma'am.
Good. According to your complaint, you went into the grocery store and left Mr. Young in the car with your daughter.
Yes,
just the
ma'am.
2 of them. And while you were in the grocery store, the windshield of your car got broken.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was done by people inside the car.
Yes, that's what I heard
Just
at
a
first.
second. Just a second.
Okay.
By people inside the car, which was either Mr. Young or your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You want Mr. Young to pay for the windshield.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Young says he's not going to pay for the windshield because your daughter broke the windshield.
Or she helped.
Or she helped. So, Mr. Young, I have a few questions for you. Were you the passenger in this car?
Yes.
And Miss Avila stopped at the grocery store to run in for a minute?
Yes.
And she asked you to watch, what's this little girl's name?
Jackie.
She asked you to watch Jackie while she ran in to get what in the grocery store?
Cupboard.
What was she going to get?
Check.
Cash a check. I was getting
Oh,
my
cash a
money.
check.
Yeah.
Smart girl. Now, you want to tell me how the windshield got broken while she wasn't in the car and you were babysitting?
Jackie got out of the car and got on the hood. It was,
She got out of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
She overpowered you?
No, ma'am.
I just want to try to understand that. She got out of the car. She overpowered you and got out of the car. And then what happened?
I let her get out of the car.
What?
I let her get out of the car.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And get on the hood.
And she managed to get up on the hood by herself, or did you put her on the hood?
She got there by herself.
How did she do that? She's a little teeny girl.
She crawled up there.
She went on the front bumper first?
Yes, ma'am.
She got herself on the front bumper first, and then she crawled up on the hood of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you when she was doing this?
I was inside the car.
What were you doing inside the car?
Just waiting.
After she overpowered you and got out of the car and managed to get up on the bumper, crawl up the hood of the car, and she's on the windshield, and you were inside the car waiting.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Young, weren't you worried that something would happen to Jackie?
I was watching her. No, ma'am.
You were watching her crawl up on the hood of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm in construction.
What do you do in construction?
Asphalt.
You don't have children, do you?
No, ma'am.
How much did the windshield cost to have fixed?
The first estimate I got was $316.
You still didn't tell me, Mr. Young, how the windshield got broken.
She was kicking it?
When she started kicking it, did you tell her to stop?
Yes, ma'am.
You were inside the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you yell outside the window?
No, ma'am. I hit the window back, trying to get her attention, tell her to stop.
So you hit the window to
Yes,
tell her to
ma'am.
stop?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that how the window broke?
Yes, ma'am.
Her kicking it and you punching it to tell her to stop?
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't punching it, I was tapping.
Tapping it?
Yes, ma'am.
You still don't think this is your fault?
No, ma'am.
Hello? Hello? You don't let a 4-year-old outside of a car unattended, because I really don't believe that she overpowered you and got out of the car.
Yes.
And then if you see her jumping up on the bumper, according to you, and then crawling on the hood of the car to the windshield, a normal, semi-intelligent person would have hopped out of the car and because they would have been afraid for the child's safety, Mr. Young.
Yes.
So now you're going to tell me, whose fault was this?
It's my fault for that now.
Yes! Yes! Just stop there. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $316. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I trusted him to watch her.
Maybe I should have.
Evidently he wasn't.
Watch the child a little better.
My windshield got broke.
He punched it 3 times.
It's probably about 3 times.
It's done and over.
Electrician Richard Langlands is suing his ex-girlfriend, bartender Melissa Doyle, for the return of money she fraudulently accepted from him. Richard says she led him to believe that she wanted a relationship.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 235 on the calendar in the matter of Langlands versus Doyle. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Langlands, how old are you, sir?
27.
Who is this lady?
That's my mother.
Ms. Doyle, how old are you?
28.
Who is this lady?
She's the general manager at the extended stay hotel I was staying at.
Mr. Langlands, how many children do you have?
1.
And that child you have with Ms. Doyle?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Doyle has how many children?
3.
And only one of them is his?
Yes.
Do all 3 children live with you?
No, my older 2 live with my parents. Elizabeth lives with me.
How old are your older 2 children?
8 and 6.
Parents have custody of them?
Yes.
Was there a trial with regard to that issue?
Yes, there was.
How old is Elizabeth?
She's 2.
Parents didn't seek custody of Elizabeth?
No, they did not.
Okay. This is your complaint. Generally speaking, Mr. Langlands, I'm going to let you explain it to me more fully. You claim Ms. Doyle owes you some money. And you claim she owes you some money because you sent her a substantial amount of money when you moved to California from Colorado?
Yes, ma'am.
She stayed in Colorado for whatever reason. But according to you, it was your intention, and you believed it was her intention, to relocate with the children, all 3 of them, to California.
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't.
No.
So you want the money back that you sent her. Some of it back, because some of it is for your daughter Elizabeth. but you sent her what you perceived to be more money than you should have sent and was your obligation because you really thought that you had a future together.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
So I'm going to let you tell me in your own words, in a very short period of time, why you believe legally Miss Doyle owes you money.
In Colorado, I was living there and I was working there, and her parents, were constantly harassing me. So I left to come to California because, I just couldn't take it anymore.
Is that where your family is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you had a discussion with Miss Doyle that she was going to join you?
Melissa couldn't leave Colorado because she had been arrested on 2 counts of felony kidnapping.
Who did she kidnap?
The 2 older children.
From whom?
She took them out of state.
Well, who had custody of them?
Miss Doyle did.
Did somebody have visitation with the children?
No, it was ordered in the court. My belief is that she wasn't allowed to take the children out of state without the other party's consent.
Which other party?
Her ex-husband.
Okay, so she had 2 counts pending of felony kidnapping against her. She couldn't leave Colorado. When was this, sir?
May 31st she was arrested.
Of 2004?
No, 2003.
Okay. When did you relocate to California?
It was the middle of July, around July.
Of 2003?
Yes.
Okay. And how much money did you send to her in total?
It came close to $5,000 just in Western Union transfers.
Over what period of time?
4 months.
Did she ask you for the money?
Well, she had moved out of her parents' home because her parents had filed paperwork to intervene and get parental custody of the 2 older children. And she moved out of the house and moved into a motel, quit her job, and she had Elizabeth, the 2 other kids, so I felt I needed to be sending money.
Okay, so you did. So she didn't ask you for the money, but you just knew she needed it.
Right.
Okay. So at that time you sent her, over those months, about $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening.
This was with the intent, and, this custody case and the criminal case was going to be over, and she was going to come to California. We were going to get married, and I tried to be everything that Melissa wanted me to be, and everything that she wanted, and it just wasn't good enough. She had received money in January of 2004, which was a $3,000 tax return. She never told me about this. The only reason I found out is because one of the kids got on the telephone and told me that she had bought a vacuum, and I'm the only person that's sending money. She's not working. And I told her, how did she come about this? And she says, well, I got a $3,000 tax return. Well, why didn't you tell me? And this was in February. She told me that she wanted to come out to California for Valentine's Day to surprise me. That's why she never told me.
Oh, okay.
And rather than pay some bills.
Fine. When did she finally tell you she wasn't coming out to California?
We had an argument in February, and, we never talked for a couple of weeks. She called me, it was late one night, it was like 11 o'clock one night, and she had told me she had been sleeping with a gentleman whose name I don't know. But
okay.
It's my belief that she withdrew her motion to relocate to California on November 19th here in her custody case.
Mr. Langland.
Leading me to believe.
Mr. Langland, while I'm sympathetic with you, in order to recoup money, there has to be a loan or some promise to repay. And that clearly wasn't the case in this case. There was no loan, there was no loan agreement, there was no promise to repay you. So my sense is that your lawsuit is grounded somewhere in fraud, that she fraudulently
Yes, ma'am.
accepted money from you because it was your intention and you believed it was her intention to come to California.
Yes, ma'am.
2 things. First of all, you can't quantify how much money that you should be sending her for the support of your child. Maybe it's $5,000, maybe it's $10,000, maybe it's $15,000, maybe it's $50. Can't quantify that. So I don't know if you sent her $5,000 over the course of several months because she was living. How much is that for your daughter? How much is that for her? How much is that for the 3 kids? You cannot quantify that. Second, you can't creep into her head. I mean, there may have been in some period of time when she accepted this money that she said, there's a chance that I'm going to go out to California with, what's your first name?
Richard.
Richard. So, truth of the matter is you really don't have a lawsuit against her for this money. But I have a more important question to ask you. Several important questions to ask you. Have you ever been legally declared Elizabeth's father?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that after or before a blood test?
There was never any blood test done.
Why not?
Because we were together, and she's my daughter.
Okay. Just asking you, sir. Did you live together?
Yes, for a short period of time.
How long?
6 months, 8 months maybe.
And when did she tell you she was pregnant?
3 months after we were together.
And how much later was Elizabeth born?
9 months later. Well, 7 months later. 6 months later, sorry.
Did you suggest to him that he have a paternity test?
I did, Your Honor.
Step up. And what did he say to you?
He believed the child was his.
I have a picture of her.
I'm not interested in a picture. I'm not interested in a picture. I'm interested in him being smart. His mother's smart. You're not too smart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Richard Langland says ex-girlfriend Melissa Doyle defrauded him out of money. Richard claims she led him to believe she wanted a relationship.
Now, if you believe that this child is yours, and I assume you're paying child support, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you visit with her?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I live in California, and Melissa makes it very difficult to even have any kind of phone contact with my daughter, contrary to
different babysitters, different locations, picks her up at 3 o'clock in the morning, leaves her with different babysitters.
Let me suggest this to you. You have a situation where Miss Doyle has 3 children.
To 3 different men.
I know you're dying to talk. She has 3 children. Her parents believed clearly that she was such an inadequate caretaker that they had a trial to take the children from her and have custody of the children.
They tried to take custody because I wanted to move to California with him. They didn't file for custody.
Let Miss Doyle.
Until I moved to
Miss
California
Doyle,
with
my
him.
dear, listen to me very carefully.
I'm not an inadequate mother in any way, shape, or form.
There isn't a court in the land that is able to take children away from a biological parent and give those children to a grandparent merely because their mother wants to move to another state.
It happened in Colorado.
That is impossible. That would not happen. So what I'm saying to you, sir, if you are convinced that this child is yours, and you know it has been determined that she is an inadequate parent for her older 2 children, I would think long and hard about allowing my daughter to stay with her. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I am seeking custody.
With that in mind, I'm dismissing your case for money because you have no case. There's a bigger picture here. I suggest that you deal with that. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all, Steph.
Thank you.
Why was your excuse to let step up?
It's really not about money. I just want people to know what's going on in Colorado as far as my daughter's concerned.
We were engaged, so I just assumed that that's why he was sending me money.
How vindictive, malicious, and callous Melissa actually is.
If anybody's vindictive, he is. He's the one suing the mother of his child.
I hope to get custody of my daughter and make sure she's safe.
I think a little girl needs her father, but as far as we are, you know, I don't see anything.
And now the next case.
All party in the matter of Demmons versus Anise. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Crystal Demmons is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old truck driver Anthony Anise, for his share of a trip to Niagara Falls. Anthony is countersuing for unpaid rent.
Miss Demmons, the defendant was your boyfriend for a while. He's not your boyfriend anymore. And the 2 of you are squabbling at this point in your lives over a little bit of money. So I'm going to make very short shrift of this. And then I'm going to let you get on with your lives. How old are you?
22.
And you?
25.
It's your claim that he owes you some money for a trip you took together when you were still dating. He says he paid you for that trip, and he says you owe him money for rent. Right?
Right.
How long ago were you dating?
We dated from February to July.
And when was this trip that you took?
We took it in the beginning of April.
Where?
To Batavia, New York to see some of his friends.
And what was your arrangement?
The agreement was that we would put the charges on my credit card and he would pay me back the money for the charges. And his friends, because he knew them and everything, also gave us the hotel for half price.
Were you living together in April?
No, we were not.
Is that right, sir?
No. Well, in the beginning it wasn't, but when I got the place, she moved in with me.
Were you living together in April or not?
No.
I'm going to keep this simple. So you weren't living together, and you wanted to go away for a weekend.
Yeah.
You didn't have money?
No, we both wanted to go away, not just me. And it wasn't just to go see my friends. It was to go to Niagara Falls.
Did you go to the falls?
Yeah.
Had you ever seen them before?
No.
And you?
I had seen them before.
You wanted to see them together?
Yes.
How much did it cost you?
A total of $220.85.
How much did you give her?
I gave her $150 in the end of June in cash.
Did he give you money?
I never received cash from him.
When I sold a truck, I gave her cash.
That was not for the trip.
Just a second. So you did receive cash from him?
Yes.
At the end of June?
It was not for the trip.
What was it for?
I had I got conjunctivitis. I work with kids, and I missed a month of work, and I was falling behind in my bills, and I was going to ask my father for help. Tony offered to give me a little bit of money towards some of my bills that are my regular bills. They had nothing to do with this trip. And he gave me that amount, and I went and I had asked my father for the remaining amount to pay my bills.
All right, so he gave you $150?
Yes.
Get over it. Now, you want me to deal with you and the rent you say she owes you? I'm listening.
Well, when she moved in, when I got a place...
When did she move in?
In the middle of May. She stayed with me until July 4th, and I kicked her out.
What happened July 4th?
I had a problem with her, so I kicked her out.
What kind of problem did you have?
A friend of mine caught her in someone's vehicle.
Okay, so
when she told me she was with somebody
you thought
else.
she was with somebody else.
She was with somebody else when she was supposed to be at her father's.
And what arrangement did you have in May when she moved in, sir?
You know, I really didn't have an arrangement with her. I'm only kind of suing because she's suing me.
So you really don't have a claim against her?
Not really, no.
Perfect, I love it. Easy. So your counterclaim is dismissed, right?
Okay.
Or you're withdrawing it because you really don't have a case. You just...
Well, I have no proof to that.
It was nuisance. No, you just said to me you had no arrangement with her for rent.
No, I didn't. Because I told her don't worry about anything.
Then you had no claim. And I find that you did give her $150 because now she acknowledges that, which is enough to cover your share of the expenses for the trip to Niagara Falls. So your claim is dismissed. Goodbye, have a happy life, get over it, don't bother me.
He's accusing me of cheating on him because I got a ride home from a friend's house by a guy, and he had his friend follow me.
No, it's not. I mean, she was already sleeping over his house the day after, so...
He thinks I cheated on him, and he doesn't know his facts. He has no facts whatsoever, and he has no proof of anything.
I asked her where she was, and she proceeded to lie to me some more, saying she was at her father's, and she wasn't.
No, he had all my stuff packed up and ready for me, and I was like, save me a lot of work.
22-year-old business owner William Joe Schwartfeger is suing his ex-girlfriend's father, truck driver Warren Day, for a false restraining order. Warren says he was trying to keep William away from his 16-year-old daughter, and he is countersuing for his legal fees.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now this is case number 70 on the calendar in the matter of Schwartfeger versus Day. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Schwartfeger?
That's correct.
How old are you, sir?
22.
Bert, I want you to pay careful attention. We're going to go over this scorecard so that you know who the players are in this case.
Gotcha.
Because I have a feeling it's going to be interesting. Who is this young lady?
That is my girlfriend, Sarah Buckley.
What does she have to do with this case?
She is a witness to the harassment, the vandalism to my vehicle, and she's also known the defendant and his daughters for about 5 to 6 years.
How long have you been his girlfriend?
Since November.
So a short-term girlfriend?
Yes.
Mr. Day, these are your two daughters.
That's correct.
Your name is?
Samantha.
How old are you, Samantha?
17.
And your name?
Kathleen.
How old are you, Kathleen?
22.
Kathleen, why don't you stand up next to your dad for a minute? Because we're going to get this whole scenario down here. Kathleen, you used to be his girlfriend, is that right?
Yes.
For how long were you his girlfriend?
Almost 4 years.
You have children with him?
2.
How old are your two children?
One just turned 3 and one's about 18 months.
Did you live together for a period of time?
Yeah.
For how long?
About 3 of those 4 years.
And how old were you when you started to live with him?
18.
Now you can sit down.
Thank you.
I may come back to you, but right now you can sit. This is what your lawsuit's about, William. According to you, you were being a good Samaritan. And at some point, you took in Mr. Day's younger daughter
That's correct.
into your home because you say she was having some trouble with her dad.
Both parents, Your Honor.
Both parents?
Yes.
Now, at the time that you took her into your house, were you still living with Kathleen?
No, I wasn't.
So Kathleen wasn't living with you anymore with your two children. She had left you. You had parted ways.
Right.
But Samantha came to live with you, and at that time Samantha was 16.
That's right.
Mr. Day didn't like that.
Not at all, ma'am.
You didn't like what happened with your first daughter?
That's correct.
And you for sure didn't like what happened with your second daughter?
That's very correct.
So what did you do, Mr. Day?
Well, Mr. Shortfigure hit Samantha in the mouth.
After she was living with him?
Yes.
Okay, let's stop there for a moment. What date did your daughter leave your home?
April 13th.
Of 2003?
Yes. It wasn't my home, though she was still with her mother at that time.
You and her mother are separated?
Yes.
In any event, this is what your lawsuit is about, William. The lawsuit says that Mr. Day filed false charges against you for child endangerment, protective orders, causing you to have to hire an attorney, legal fees, and everything that he said about you was false, and you want to be compensated to the tune of $1,954.
That's correct.
Mr. Day, just for good measure, says, well, he wants some money too because you caused him to lose work and attorney's fees because he had to hire an attorney in order to get certain orders reinstated. He wants some money. I think most of what he wants is satisfaction.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, William, tell me about when Kathleen left your house with your two children.
We were living together until December of 2002, I believe.
And how old were your children at that point?
The one was 3 months, and the other one was a little over 2 years old. Or, I'm sorry, she had not turned 2 yet.
And why did she leave?
We were having problems in our relationship. We've had an on and off relationship for the last 4.5 to 5 years, so...
It was during the odd periods that you had these children?
Yeah.
Was it an amicable breakup?
Pretty much.
And you continue to see the children?
Yes, on a regular basis.
And you continue to support the children?
That's right. I pay child support every week.
For both children?
That's right.
Okay. And where did Kathleen go when she left?
Actually, she stayed in the apartment that we shared.
And you left?
That's right.
So far, is that correct, Kathleen?
No.
Well, why don't you come up here and tell me what happened? Because this is all very important as far as Mr. Day's state of mind when he filed his complaints. When did you and William separate?
December of 2002.
Under what circumstances?
He was sleeping with my sister.
And how did you find that out, Kathleen?
I found notes.
Did you keep the notes?
My mom has them right now.
You get along with your mother?
Yeah.
Should have brought the notes to court.
I know, she won't give them to me. She said it's an embarrassment to our children.
What did the notes say? First of all, who wrote the notes?
He did.
Remember what they said?
It said Samantha down the side. It said sexy, amazing, mind-blowing, awesome, naughty, terrific, hot, and a dream come true.
Did you confront William with the note?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said they wrote it as a joke, together.
And when was that?
About 2 weeks before Christmas, December 2002.
You remember that conversation, William?
Yes, I do.
So you told Kathleen, the mother of your two children, that the note that you wrote that talked about sexy, naughty, etc., with regard to her sister, her 16-year-old sister, were just joking around.
Well, I write a lot of poetry. In that
Joking around.
Yeah.
That's what you told her.
Yeah, I said we wrote it together. Yes.
Oh. Shh, please. You left.
I left for the day, but I stayed in the apartment. I asked him to leave.
And did he leave?
He left after a few days.
And that was in December?
That's correct.
When did Samantha come to live with you, sir?
In April of 2003.
And where were you living at the time?
I just got an apartment, and I had an extra bedroom, so I figured, you know.
How did Samantha know that you had an extra bedroom?
Well, we stayed in contact. Kathleen and I weren't talking at the time, so I used Samantha as a mediator to, you know, see my children and to make sure that they were doing okay.
You said you saw your children regularly, so what do you mean you needed a mediator?
Well, at first, the visitation wasn't every weekend like it is now. Like I said, Kathleen and I weren't on speaking terms at that time.
You weren't on speaking terms because she believed that you were having intimate relations with a 16-year-old sister. That a fair statement?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. William Joe Schwartfager says his ex-girlfriend's father, Warren Day, owes for attorney fees and harassment. Warren says after William broke up with Kathleen, he had an affair with her 16-year-old sister.
Now tell me what Mr. Day did with regard to his 16-year-old daughter moving in with you?
Nothing at first. Samantha and Mr. Day weren't on speaking terms when it first happened.
She was living with her mother.
That's right, and she was having problems with her mother. She was, living in and out of her friend's house, running away from her house, not going to school, stuff like that.
Between December and April, did you see Samantha?
We met up a couple times.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
How many times would you estimate you saw Samantha?
About once a week, maybe.
Could it have been twice a week?
It wasn't like everyday basis that she was over at where I was at, but...
I didn't say every day, William. You said once a week. And what I said to you is, could it have been twice a week?
Yeah, it might have been a couple weeks that she came over more than once, yes.
And when she would come over, would she stay for an hour or two?
She'd stay for a couple hours.
And what would you do when she came over?
We'd hang out with the kids, talk about when the next time I get to see them, where we were going to meet to get the kids and everything else, so...
When did Mr. Day file the first of his protective orders?
In July.
You have a copy of it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
This paper is also the ruling after the case.
Just a second. So he filed a protective order indicating that in July you hit Samantha in the mouth.
That's right.
July 2003, Samantha. Were you living with William at the time?
Yes.
Did he hit you in the mouth?
Yes.
Under what circumstances?
I came home and him and his friends had been drinking and we got into an argument. At that time, we went into the bedroom. He took me into the bedroom. His friends stayed in the other room and one thing led to another. He actually picked me up, threw me into the table, and that's how I busted my lip open.
So he didn't hit you in the mouth. He picked you up and threw you into a table, which caused you to hurt your lip. And what did you do in July when he did that to you?
Well, we kept fighting. He actually left. I called my friends to come get me because he took my keys and threw them in the dumpster. And he came back and he was being very rude to my friends, and then I left. And then 2 days later, I think, is when they actually filed the protection order.
Where were you living at the time?
I was living with Joe, but I was staying with my friend Stephanie after we got in an argument.
So you were living with him?
Yes.
What kind of an apartment did he have?
It was a 2-bedroom apartment.
Who else lived there?
Just me and him.
Did you have your own bedroom?
No.
Did you share the bedroom with him?
Yes.
For how long?
Ever since we moved in. We actually got the apartment together. He didn't have it when we're together.
You went to court in August of 2003. Do you remember going to court in August of 2003? Yes. Did the judge ask you any questions?
Yes.
Why did you lie to the judge?
Because I thought that I was in love and I was scared. He told me what to say and I said what he said to say.
Had you gone back to him at the time?
We were on a restraining order, so we couldn't see each other, but yeah, we were still together.
Were you speaking to him?
Not during the protection order.
Did you tell your father that you were going to not tell the truth when the judge asked you questions?
Yes.
What did he say?
Not much. He told me I better tell the truth.
Is that right, sir?
That is correct, ma'am.
When your 16-year-old daughter got to court, you didn't tell the truth. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this, William, is what you're really suing over, this case that was dismissed.
Yeah, that's part of the lawsuit, yes.
Tell me what the other part is.
In February, he filed another protective order against me. Samantha had moved out in late October, and I didn't understand why he was...
So she came back to you after this original protective order, and she moved out again in late October?
That's right. She moved back into my house probably about a month after the case, and then she quit her job, stopped going to school, and those were, I told her if she was going to live with me, she had to keep her job, go to school, and then later on my car got vandalized.
Who do you think vandalized your car, sir?
Samantha. We do have audio tapes that were gone over by the county attorney.
Don't tell me what audio tapes were gone over by anybody else, sir. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Do you have any witness to Samantha vandalizing your car?
Samantha's older sister, Kathleen, she was the one that actually told me that it was Samantha that vandalized my car.
No.
What did you say to him?
I said it wasn't my brother, and it wasn't my sister.
Well, I don't know.
There's a lot of people that hate you, so.
Yeah. I can think of 3 right there. Maybe 4. William, I'm going to tell you a word that you probably don't know. Interestingly enough, Officer Byrd knows this word, because when I say the word, he's going to understand, as will a lot of other people, because I'm going to explain the word to you. The word, William, is chutzpah. Do you know what chutzpah means, Byrd?
Sure.
Chutzpah means nerve. You got a lot of nerve to put on a suit and tie, bring your girlfriend into a court to sue this man after you made 2 babies with one of his children irresponsibly. Now, you're only partially responsible for that, but you're half responsible for that. And then his daughter finds out that you're messing around with her 16-year-old sister, and she leaves you. Or you leave. She tells you to leave. And then you invite her 16-year-old sister to move into your house, the 2 sisters, you know, like you live in Utah. And then you have the chutzpah to sue him as a parent for getting angry with you because his daughter tells him, not only am I sleeping with him, but he picked me up, he got angry when he was drinking, threw me against the table, and split my lip. You have a daughter, sir?
Yes, I got 3 daughters.
All right. You have 2 daughters?
3.
3?
Yes.
Who's the 3rd?
My oldest daughter, she's 7, but she's not by the day for me.
And how old are you, 22?
That's right.
You better get a lock for it.
That's already been fixed, though.
William, I don't want to look at you for another second. Your case is dismissed. Mr. Day, have you gotten the satisfaction that you wanted?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't need a counterclaim, do you?
No, I don't really know.
Very good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been hard. It's been hard for me not to do something else besides go to court on it. It really has.
I was just trying to get the attorney bills that Mr. Day has racked up on my behalf, cleared up.
This man has been like a dingleberry on my butt.
It didn't destroy any credibility. It's another day.
He doesn't think about other people's feelings, how he hurt me, how he hurt her, and how he's probably going to hurt Sarah, too.
She was like a little sister to me the whole time.
You could talk the panties off a nun.
The girl that's with him right now, Sarah Buckley,
Is my best friend.
and used to live in my house as my 3rd, adopted daughter.
So he's on the 3rd one now.
Yeah.
We're actually a lot closer than we were, and we just really hate him now. Everybody makes mistakes. Yeah, this is her freebie. If she does it again, then it's done.
And now the next case. 28-year-old restaurant manager Jason Bainbridge is suing his ex-wife, Human Resources rep Jennifer Simpkins, for filing bankruptcy on a vehicle in his name. Jennifer says Jason wasn't paying child support, so she had no other choice.
Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 52 on the calendar in the matter of Bainbridge versus Simpkins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Bainbridge, you and the defendant had been married and you have 2 children together, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What your complaint alleges is, pursuant to the judgment of divorce, your former wife got possession of a car.
Yes.
And she was to make all the payments on the car, maintain the insurance on the car, and you were held harmless by the court for any further responsibility for the car because it was going to be her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Subsequently, you ascertained that she filed for bankruptcy and listed the credit company that had made the car loan as a creditor, and that debt was discharged in bankruptcy, her bankruptcy.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are on the hook for the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you think that's unfair.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Simpkins states that she was forced to file for bankruptcy because of your lack of child support, and that you were noticed in the bankruptcy as someone who had to be noticed because of your on-paper obligation.
Right at the time, I was at NTC.
You were what?
I was in the military away on training.
And therefore, she's not responsible. So I need some information from both of you. When were you married?
We were married March 10th of 96.
March 30th.
30th, okay.
I always should ask the woman that question. March 30th of 1996. When were you separated?
July 25th of 1999.
That you remember?
Exactly. The date and time.
Any particular reason you remember that date and time?
Oh, it's when World War III started.
That's when the locks were changed.
That's when the locks were changed. July 25th, 1999. And when were you divorced?
September of 2000.
And who's going to show me a copy of the judgment of divorce?
I will.
Are you still in the armed forces, sir?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
When were you discharged?
February of this year.
Do you have an order of support for the children, sir? Because this judgment of divorce indicates that you have deferred all issues of custody and support to a juvenile and domestic relations court. Was that ever done?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a copy of that order?
I do not have a copy of my child
With me. He's ordered to pay $805 a month if he exercises 90-plus days of visitation a year with the children, and if he does not, he's ordered to pay $896 a month. And he does not. He's never exercised visitation with the children.
All right. Ms. Simpkins, when did you file for bankruptcy?
We filed in September of 2001.
Why?
And it was discharged. Why?
Yeah.
Because bills just got out of, I just couldn't make it anymore.
So for how many months did he not pay child support?
He didn't pay it at all for 3 months, and then I got...
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
And then I got in contact with his commanding officer, and I had to forward documents, and I said 805 because at that point my mother was helping me with child care, and that was a fair amount, and I could support the kids on. And then later on, the 805 was coming, and then Jason and I talked, and my mother wasn't able to watch the kids, and he was supposed to bump his child support up to the 896. And that never happened, and the military said they couldn't do anything about it. And so I was kind of stuck until he came home. And
well, whatever. It was 805. You were getting $805 a month pursuant to a court order, and it was coming right out of his pay.
Right. I was getting, but that was almost $100 short a month.
Well, he says that he's got proof that he paid that money.
Here's a signed letter from me and my wife, ex-wife, the month that I went into the military, as far as my taxes were concerned. Our tax return was going to be applied for.
Then he still didn't pay after that.
Well, it seems, Ms. Simpkins, that based upon this agreement that the two of you signed, this wasn't somebody who didn't pay child support. He paid child support, and when he was going into the military and there was going to be a hiatus, the two of you made an arrangement, whereas his tax returns were going to be split. You were going to get so much money, and he was going to get so much money on the returns. It's not as if he was a deadbeat.
No,
so I find that your excuse that it was his fault that you filed for bankruptcy somewhat disingenuous.
Well, that was for a previous. I mean, after he went in and that money was applied, there was still no child support until I hunted him down.
You don't have to hunt him down. What you have to do is you have to apply for your allotment. That's what you do.
He had told me that he was going to Fort Bragg.
Yes.
He didn't go to Fort Bragg.
Well, who do you think that he has the ability to say, I want to go to Fort Bragg?
Well, no, but they told me that's where he told me that's where he was going to be stationed.
Maybe that's where they told him he was going. You think he was trying to fool you?
Yes.
You think he was trying to fool you? No, no, no.
When I went away for basic training, Your Honor, I was going to Fort Jackson, and that's where I told her it was. And they found I was colorblind. I couldn't go.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. You may have filed for bankruptcy, and between you and the creditor who you owed money to on the car, the bankruptcy court relieved you of that obligation. However, you have a judgment of divorce.
Right.
You agreed to accept sole responsibility for the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Your judgment of divorce provides that if you don't do that, you are to indemnify him. Make him whole. Because it's your car. Where's the car, by the way?
We turned it in. I turned it into the car.
When did you turn it in?
Oh, gosh. I want to say September of that year.
September of what year?
2000.
And when did you file for bankruptcy?
Not until 2001.
So if you turned it in, you turned it in at the exact same time as you were divorced. And then all you wanted to do was clean your slate. So you turned the car in and you obligated him at the moment that you got a divorce.
No.
Yeah, you did. No. Sure you did. That was slick. Oh, that was slick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Jason Bainbridge says ex-wife Jennifer Simpkins filed bankruptcy on a car in his name. Jason says the creditor is making him responsible for payments.
Why didn't you consent to him having both cars in the judgment of divorce?
Because the divorce was bad and messy, and it was just...
Why didn't you say, here, you take both cars? Maybe you can sell them, maybe you won't get stuck with it. Instead, he's singing along for a year thinking you've got the car,
No,
you're making payments.
No, he knew.
You're making payments on the car.
Right.
You're making payments on the car. He's making payments on the other car, I assume.
No,
There were
that car,
two
he
cars.
turned that car in for repossession as well, so he wasn't making payments on that
That's not true, Your Honor. My father actually paid it off.
after it was repossessed.
So somebody paid it off, so somebody got it off his credit. Well, that's what your parents should have done with your obligation.
No, it's not their job.
It's not his job. You assume the responsibility yourself. You're a big girl.
He
You're
wasn't
big
paying
enough
his
to
child
make...
support.
That's baloney.
That is not.
That's baloney.
No, ma'am.
How much did you owe on the car?
According to them, it's $4,353.10.
Let me see it. And that will clear your credit?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you called them with regard to settling this account?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, and what do they say it will take to settle it?
Just the $4,350. What's stated on that piece of paper?
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,353.10. Madam, you have to be a grown-up. You obligate yourself to do something, you have to do it. That's all.
Parties are disputes when they step out.
It was World War III. We didn't get along very well, but she needed to take care of her end of the obligation.
He left a lot of times, and I changed the locks, and that was it.
This is only one of many things that she maliciously did to me.
There was other women involved.
I can't buy a house. I can't get a car. I got to get judgment on my credit, so now I got to get an attorney to get that off my credit.
For our children, he doesn't bother with them now, so I don't think he'll ever be a major part of their life.
It's been an everyday occurrence as far as her trying to get her payment on the vehicle. I'm glad it's finally over with and justice is perfect.
19-year-old student Christina Reagan is suing her brother, event promoter Matthew Oakley, for stealing money from her checking account. Matthew is countersuing, claiming Christina defamed his character.
Yeah, this is case number 31 on the calendar in the matter of Reagan versus Oakley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Reagan, Mr. Oakley is your brother.
Yes.
This is your mom.
Yeah.
According to your complaint, you and your mom had an arrangement with your banking.
Mm-hmm.
You would give your mom your money that you were saving for school, and then she had another account where you paid bills at another account. And it is your complaint that your brother accessed the account and stole $1,175 by writing unauthorized checks.
Phone checks.
Your brother says he borrowed the money from your mother. She told him that he had the authority to go in and take the money out of that account, that he paid her back a good deal of it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That he didn't pay her back all of it because he's been generous to her, helping her out the last few months. And he is counterclaiming because he says that you called him a thief in front of some business associates and therefore tarnished his reputation.
He did it on his own.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, let's start with what we have. We have a situation where you took money out of a bank account that belonged to
My mother.
your mother,
Yes, ma'am.
according to you. And you took out how much money?
I'm sure it was $1,175 in different disbursements, so not at one time.
And when did you start taking that money out?
This is last year. I don't know the exact dates.
Now, can you explain to me, sir, how you got access to this account?
Yes, ma'am. My mother, those checks are not like regular checks. You have to have a PIN number to access those checks, which is my mother's personal identification number. It's for her bank.
I know what a PIN number
Yeah,
is. Even
that-
I, as challenged as I am, know what a PIN number is.
She gave me the account.
Well,
the
tell me
number.
how that came about, Mr. Oakley.
I'm an event coordinator. I do sporting events, kind of like a promoter type deal. At first, I needed help with my flyers, so I asked my mother, if I could borrow some money. I told her I'd pay her back.
Okay, so you went to your mother prior to April 2nd
Yes, ma'am.
and said, I need some money for flyers.
Yes, ma'am.
And your mother is together. I mean, she's not addled or anything. She's a together woman. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right? So a normal person would have said, well, if you need some money, what's your first name?
Matthew.
Matthew, how much do you need? Right?
Exactly.
And what did you say?
I said I needed $300.
And what did she say?
She said, okay. She had a checkbook because she worked at Circle K at the time, and there were Circle K checks only.
And she gave you her PIN number.
She gave me her PIN number.
What was the PIN number?
I don't remember it anymore.
And so you went to the bank and you took out $375.
Yes, ma'am.
But your mother had only agreed, according to you, to loan you $300.
No, ma'am, that's not correct. She asked me how much I need,
And
she
you
didn't,
said-
and I said $300. but she did not agree just on a specific amount. She asked me whatever I needed. The flyers ended up coming up to $375.
No. That's just you made that up as you were going along, sir. An intelligent person, according to you, would say, how much do you need? You said $300, and according to you, she said okay, and she gave you a PIN number.
Yes, ma'am.
But then you went and took out $375.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Right. Okay. Now that was on the 2nd of April. Then you took out another $250 on the 4th of April. Tell me about that, sir.
The same thing. I needed it for lighting and sound for my event.
So, did you go back to your mother again?
Yes, I asked my mother.
No, did you go back to her again?
Yes, ma'am.
And then again on April 11th, you took out another $250. Did you go back to your mother again?
No.
You just took it out?
Yes, ma'am.
And on the 13th, you took out another $300. Did you go back to your mother again?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now we're going to hear from
Lynn. Thank you. Your Honor, this account that he is speaking of was specifically formed for Christina's college funds and what she needed to do for her college. That was it. I would never give him permission to take any of that money for any of his events whatsoever. And how he got the comm checks is what he's talking about.
Your Honor?
No!
Well, how he got those is he went through my personal property, my papers, and he found them. And he knew that number. I never gave him permission to take that. He went through my papers and took that out. Christina, she goes to school 5 days a week. She works weekends. She's a waitress. She's got a full-time schedule. And she just doesn't have enough time. Nobody's really helping her with school. And so I took on a second job just for that. And I would never give him permission for an event. Matthew's been with me for 4 years now. He's taken money. This isn't the first time that he's done this.
What do you mean he's been with you for 4 years?
He was away.
Away where?
He was in prison.
Yeah.
And he came out.
What was he in prison for?
Grand Theft Auto. But
so just a second. So he's a thief.
Yeah, exactly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says her brother Matthew Oakley stole from her checking account. Christina says the money was earmarked for her college tuition.
So you went to jail for Grand Theft Auto because you stole cars.
Yes, ma'am. This is when I was a child. I mean, I was really young when I did this. I came out of jail and totally straightened my life out.
Not according to your mother. Listen to me. Not according to your mother. If it's not according to your mother that you straightened your life around, I can't think of who is going to be more of a cheerleader than your mother.
Yeah, but can I say something, Your Honor?
When you came out of prison, where did you go to live?
I went with my mother's friend. Her name is Rosalie.
Never lived with your mother?
No, my mother actually lived with me. She came afterwards. After I was living at that house, she moved in.
You know what? Rosalie is my best friend. And I was, actually, when he first came out, I was renting a room. And the landlord there, when Matthew came over to the house, didn't like the way he looked, knew that he just came out of prison. He told me that I had to leave. So I was already going to move in and be a roommate with my friend. Matthew just happened to go there the day before, but it's not because he was going to move in there before me. He just happened to get there before I did. It was nothing even like that. That is so untrue.
Your Honor, can I say something?
And so let me tell you this. So ever since that day, because we've had a lot of problems through these 4 years, and he'll always tell me, I'll say, Matthew, okay, you know what? It's time for you to leave. You're just not doing the right thing. You got to leave. And he's like, well, I was here first. I don't have to go nowhere. And that's what the problem is. He's gotten into my check account, and what he would do is take checks out of the middle of the checkbooks. I don't have that anymore. And then so I would notice it, and I would check a balance, and they'd say, well, you don't have this. And finally, somebody said, why don't you check your checkbook? I looked through, and it would be like $351, $356, and it's just been going on and on and on.
Your Honor, I'm not going to deny this.
Sit down. Sit down.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny this. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm not going to deny that I haven't done bad stuff in the past. This situation that we have right now, though, she did loan me the money. The reason she's saying this is because, number one, she's saying that my sister needs this money for college, okay, for her college fund. But yet, the reason that my sister got mad and didn't have the money because at the same time that this was going on, she went and spent $6,000 on breast implants.
Shh. Listen to me.
Okay, $6,000 on breast implants. The money, if she needed money so bad for college, why would she spend $6,000 for breast implants?
That's not your business. How much did your tattoos cost?
Free. I got them all for free. I got them all for free.
Really?
Yeah, all of them.
Why is that? Why would somebody do that kind of artwork on you for free?
Oh, just friends. It's nothing from shops. It's just friends that do it.
Don't speak yet. Does it look as if I'm having difficulty with him?
Sorry.
Huh? Does it look as if... So far, what I have, Mr. Oakley, is that if I were to believe you, your mother agreed to loan you $300.
Yes, ma'am.
and you took out $1,175.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means that you were a thief for $800. Now you say, in your answer, in addition to that, I paid her back.
Yes, ma'am.
Bird wants to hear about that.
Yeah, I paid her. I pay my mother what I can. Sometimes I have money. Sometimes I don't.
Just a minute. When you say you pay her back, you live in a home with your mother, or you did with your mother and Rosalie?
No, my mother rents a room from me at my house. It's my house. She rents a room from me.
Oh, I can tell you
her
something
and
about that.
Just a second.
Her and my,
so it's your home?
Yes, it's my home.
How did you get a home?
I rent the house. I rent her and my brother one room.
Just a second. So you rent a house?
Uh-huh.
It's not your house. And when did you take over the lease on this house?
I've been in this house now for about 4 months.
And when did your mother tell you that she wasn't going to back up your story about these checks that you wrote?
Well, see, she never told me anything of the sort. My mother, okay, there's a problem because my mom, a while back, okay, she left for a while, probably for about 8 years. She ran off, okay, but it was a thing between my mother and dad. She ran off. My sister feels that my mother owes her something because she ran off, which it wasn't really my mom's fault. My sister will sit there and tell my mother she's stupid, shut up, embarrass her in front of people. And if she's going to sit, I don't believe she took it this far, because if she's going to sit here and say that my sister doesn't talk to her like that, she's lying and she's under oath, because that's what happens.
Mr. Roakley, Mr. Roakley, if you want to discuss, listen to me, sir, if you want to discuss the family dynamics in your home, go on a talk show. Now let's get to your counterclaim, and let's get there quickly. You say that your sister came in when you were having a business meeting and called you a...
thief.
But you are.
Loser. But I didn't steal the money.
No, but you are. No, but you are a thief. You're a convicted thief.
Yeah, past tense.
But that doesn't...
evidently,
sir, you don't
that
get...
means, Judge, that if I did something in the past that I don't have any rights like anybody else to better myself, I'm still going to be considered a thief for something that happened in the past. You know,
no, she didn't say you were a current thief. She said you were a thief, and you were a thief. You were a convicted thief. You were a convicted felon. You served jail time. And according to your sister, and according to what I found, you're an additional thief because you took money out of this account. Even if I believed your story, which I don't, you took money out of the account in an unauthorized fashion because you were given permission for 3 and you took 12. So that makes you a thief. So your counterclaim was dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,175. Thank you very much. Be happy.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't have to say a word. Judge Judy saw it the way it was. Matt's a thief.
I don't know, maybe I need to get a job, a real job or something, start making some money, I don't know.
Actually, he just got a job and he's worked 7 days in a row, so we're really proud of him right now.
I tried, try to get a counterclaim, try to get a little bit of extra out of it, but it just didn't work.
I worked for it, it's my money. I want my money. I don't want someone taking what I work for if he's not going to have a job. I don't take his money.
26-year-old factory worker Bree Berry is suing her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old waiter John Hayden Jr., for totaling her car. Bree says John is a con artist.
Yeah, this is case number 26 on the calendar in the matter of Berry versus Hayden Jr. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Berry, Mr. Hayden was your live-in boyfriend until a while back, and according to your complaint, he took your car without permission one day, drove it. You don't know what happened, but he says he fell asleep at the wheel and he totaled your car. You want the value of that car because you say you were forced to purchase another car, and your monthly payments had, of course, increased as a result of purchasing the new car.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hayden says that he had an agreement with you.
Yes,
ma'am. Is that right?
Yes.
And that he doesn't owe you anything for the new car. So he's going to tell me all about that agreement in a moment, and I am anxiously awaiting to hear the details of it.
Me too.
Good. We'll all wait together. When did you live with Mr. Hayden, Miss Berry?
I lived with him for about 3 months from at the end of December until about the end of February.
Had you known him for a while before he moved in with you?
We used to go to high school together.
What prompted you to move in together?
I was conned into it. John is a very good con artist.
How were you conned into it?
He figured that we could help each other out by, he didn't have anywhere to stay at that time, and he was working and that he could help me with my bills, and that's not how it happened.
So he moved into your apartment?
Yes, ma'am, just like that. Conned his way right in.
When did he take your car and total it?
It was on February 11th.
Tell me about that, Mr. Hayden.
Well, I did have permission to drive the car. I drove the
Your
car.
Honor.
I had my own set of keys. I drove the car on several occasions. And
Okay, tell me about February 11th, sir.
February 11th, I woke up like I normally did and went to my where I have to go.
Just a second. Oh, listen to me. February 11th, Judge, I woke up at...
Judge, I woke
Look,
up...
no, look at me. Here.
I woke up around 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
And you got out of bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me.
I don't want to hear you yet. He's talking. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You got out of?
I got out of bed.
And who was in bed with you? Look at me. Eyes.
The plaintiff.
Are you sure? Don't speak. Remember what day of the week it was, sir?
It was probably around the end of the week.
Are you sure about that?
As sure as I can be.
What do you mean as sure as you can be?
Because,
Mr. Hayden, I assume you work, right?
I did work until probably 2 weeks ago.
Fine. You were working on February 11th because
Yes.
you started to say to me before, I got up my usual time and I was going to do usual things, so I assume you got up 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning because you were going to...
To my rehabilitation.
What kind of rehabilitation, sir? Is not an answer.
Well, I'd rather not go into it.
Well, you have to tell me, sir, what you were doing, because I'm going to ask you specific questions, and I don't give a rat's behind what you prefer not to go into. Put your hand down.
I was going to get my treatment for my methadone.
Okay, so you were going to your methadone program.
Yes.
I've heard that before, sir. You know, I've been a judge for a long time. You have a morning methadone program?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And where had you been the night before, sir?
At home.
All night?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got up 6 or 7 o'clock to go and get your methadone at the program. And you were, in fact, working. So where were you working?
At Uno's Pizzeria on Beachmont Avenue.
What time do they open?
Around 11 o'clock.
What time do you do at your methadone program?
Anywhere between 6 and...
Look at my eyes.
10.
So what were you doing getting up at 6 o'clock, sir, when you didn't have to be at the pizza place until 11?
Because sometimes I go in early so I can get a few extra hours in.
Good. So you were being conscientious.
Yes, I worked 3 doubles a week plus the other days that I worked. I worked 6 days a week. 3 of them were doubles and 3 of them were regular days.
All right. So you got up between 6 and 7. And you had your own set of keys to the car. You got into the car. And what happened, Mr. Hayden?
I was traveling on my way to the clinic, and I fell asleep at the wheel.
Well, according to you, you'd been home the whole night before. Well, how come you fell asleep at the wheel?
Well, not real sure. I've had problems in the past with driving, falling asleep.
How many times in the past have you had problems driving?
Well, I've never actually wrecked from it, but, you know, I've had several close calls.
And when was that?
Years past.
Not when you were with Miss Berry?
No.
Did you ever tell Miss Berry before she gave you permission to use the car according to you and give you your own set of keys to the car that you've had near misses with falling asleep at the wheel?
I'm sure she was aware.
No, I didn't ask you that question, Mr. Hayden. And I want you to trust me, sir. On your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day. Did you ever tell her that you had near misses of falling asleep at the wheel of a car?
I'm not sure.
Good, that's an answer. Did he ever tell you that?
No, ma'am.
Of course not. Now, was this Miss Berry's only means of transportation, or did she have a garage full of cars?
She had 2 vehicles.
Tell me about the 2 vehicles that she had.
One was a Taurus and the Civic.
And which car were you driving?
The Civic.
Is that the car you were driving, the Taurus?
No, ma'am. That I had a 95 Taurus that had been broken down for a couple months. My only means of transportation was the Honda Civic.
Okay. Miss Berry, tell me about the 10th of February, which was the day before this incident happened.
The 10th of February, ma'am, I was getting tired of being in this little relationship with John because he wasn't working like he said he was. And I had asked him that, you know, pretty soon you need to find somewhere to go. You need to, you know, go live off somebody else. So he had called me from work and asked me to come home so that we could talk about it. And when I got home, about 11 or 12, and John was already drunk and nodding out, because that's one thing that I couldn't stand about him, is that he would always nod out, and he's burnt my furniture on the floor. So anyways, he slept on the couch that night. I slept in the bed. I woke up the next morning. My keys are gone. I always leave my purse next to my bed. I always take my purse everywhere I go. The keys were gone. I got a phone call about 11 from an officer stating that John Hayden was in the hospital, that he had totaled my car. So I called down to the hospital, and John just acted like everything would be all right, that he totaled my car.
So what you're saying is he had driven your car before. There's no question about that. Is that right?
Yes, but he did not have an extra set of keys.
But he had driven your car before, with your permission.
Not with my permission. I would get up in the morning and he would take it.
Well, then what you have to do is you change the locks and you put him out of your house.
That's too much.
Shh. You change the locks, you put him out of your house if he's stealing your car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. He says ex-boyfriend John Hayden Jr. totaled her car. John says he fell asleep at the wheel on his way to a methadone clinic.
Now there is something that you're going to tell me that would suggest that you had an agreement with her with regard to a new car. So why don't you tell me about that?
After the car was totaled, we agreed that if she was able to get a new car, which she had no job except for about 2 or 3 weeks.
That's a lie.
So
it doesn't matter if I work or not.
Miss Berry, what part of don't speak don't you understand?
I'm sorry.
When you're on welfare, you can barely...
Oh, my...
I'm not asking you what she did. I'm asking you what your agreement was.
You can barely make your rent anyway. If it wasn't for me co-signing, she could have never got the car to begin with.
My mama...
Miss Berry, if you open your mouth again, I'm going to dismiss your claim.
Okay.
You don't want that, do you?
No, ma'am.
And I'm serious, you know. I don't say things and then take it back. Do you understand?
I understand.
I want you to tell me the conversation that you had with Miss Berry, sir, with regard to your co-signing a loan for her.
I said, you put down the money you have as a down payment, and then I'll put down what I have, and if they let it go through with both of us being, with me being the co-signer, then you will have your car, and you will go from there.
Did she own the Civic free and clear?
I do not know.
As far as you know, she wasn't making payments because according to you, Miss Berry was on welfare. She could hardly make the rent.
Exactly.
So she wasn't making car payments. So what you're telling me is she took whatever little money she had, and you put in money. And how much money did you put in?
Probably $100.
And you put in $100, and then you co-signed a loan for her so that she could buy a new used car.
Yes.
And how much was the loan for?
About $8,000.
So what you're telling me is because you totaled her car, you obligated her to pay $8,000 for a vehicle to do whatever she had to do with it. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Then tell me what you're telling me, Mr. Hayden. I'm listening.
I would have been more than happy to stay there with her and be, and help her make her car payments. But she cheated on me when I called her before I came home because I couldn't get a hold of her one day. And she said, well, an ex-boyfriend of mine spent the night tonight, and I don't want you to come here trying to cause any problems. Granted, this is where I was living, paying bills, giving her money. I make about $500 or $600 a week, and, I just would give her money.
If you had, sir, $500 or $600 a week, why don't you get your own car?
Because I don't have a license.
So, Mr. Hayden, so you took her car and drove her car without a license?
I didn't know that at the time. I have an $80 reinstatement fee to pay, which I'm going through now.
Mr. Hayden, you got more stories than Damon Runyon. The fact that you tell me that I gave her $100 towards the car, did he give you $100 towards the car?
Ma'am.
No, of course he didn't.
Oh, you're right.
I couldn't even pay.
Of course he didn't.
I had
Give
to
you
pay for
What year car was this?
a 93.
Do you have the blue book value of it?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
Would you like to see all the evidence or just that?
I'd like to see whatever you have, Miss Berry.
And I don't live in Section 8.
You move people in and out all the time.
Oh, goodness.
Ooh, this looks like some bad accident. What did you hit?
A telephone pole. And she didn't call to see if I was okay. She called to see if her car was okay.
That should have told you something,
Yeah,
Mr.
it
Hayden. Should have.
Yeah, she's self-centered, and karma will get her.
car was more important than you were.
Exactly.
Right. I am assuming that you are now involved with somebody else?
Yes, ma'am. It was drug use.
No, listen to me. I assume at least in part it was because of somebody else. Part of it may be because of his continued drug use, according to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever. That is not a testament to your good judgment.
It's a bad judgment I made.
No, very bad. And I don't care whether you're exercising bad judgment if you're the only one involved, but you have a 5-year-old child. And you don't move somebody into your house for 1 hour who you claim is getting his methadone, but using in addition to that.
That's why I got rid of him.
Just a second. That's not true, madam, because according to you, after he came out of the hospital, you allowed him to move back into your home for a month. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And you don't do that if you're a responsible parent of a 5-year-old. You understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
She's not a responsible parent.
No, and you're a model citizen.
More than her.
Okay.
At least I just use, I don't sell.
That may be, sir, but you still owe her $2,500 for the car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500.
Parties are excused.
Step out.
You may step
Bird,
out.
he can have his water later, please.
John Hayden is a good con artist.
I could really care less.
Anybody that John owes money to,
She's wrong.
you should take him on the Judge Judy show
Bree's a liar.
so you can get your money also.
This is over.
Francis versus Morris. All parties, please step forward.
Danielle and Michael Francis are suing their former tenant, Anthony Morris, for property damage and loss of income.
Miss Francis?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is this?
It's my husband.
Well, this has to do with the ownership of a home. Do you both own the home, or just did you inherit the home?
It doesn't have to do with ownership of the home. It's a case about property damage.
I understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
But somebody owns the home. Who owns the home is the question. Not your husband.
Correct.
Have a seat. Let's not confuse it. Ms. Francis, you had a brother.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose name was?
Julius.
How old was he?
My brother was 38.
And your brother owned a home?
Yes.
How long did your brother own this home?
He just purchased a home in 2017.
Do you know how much he paid for it?
About $123,000.
Was there a mortgage on the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How much is left on the mortgage?
$110,000 now.
Do you know how much the house is worth?
Yes, ma'am.
How
It's
much?
worth $213,000 now.
So almost double.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, your brother passed away when?
June of 2020.
From what?
Pancreatic cancer.
So it was relatively fast.
Yes, it was. He was actually diagnosed in 2019. So in early 2019, I became his caregiver, taking him back and forth to the doctor and chemo visits, as well as my husband.
Okay. Now, Mr. Morris,
Yes, ma'am.
you had been a roommate of Julius.
That is correct.
For how long?
I moved into the house on October 19th, 2019.
And you paid rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when Julius got sick, according to what I read, you never moved into the house with Julius. You just took him to where he needed to be. Is that correct? You lived with your husband.
Yes, ma'am.
You lived with your husband, and you came as needed to take your brother to medical appointments, etc. You lived in the house with him.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Partially.
What's not partially?
At the end of my brother's illness, I moved in with him because
How much before?
I would say March of 2020.
So for a couple of months, towards the end, you moved in. But during the course of the year, you lived with your husband and you lived in the house with
Yes,
Julius.
ma'am.
And when you were living in the house with Julius, did you give any assistance to him in any way?
Yes, ma'am. I took him to the hospital several times. I cooked for him, and I pretty much did the chores and ran the errands for him.
Did you know him before you moved into the house?
I did not.
After Julius passed away, you inherited the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he have a will?
Yes, ma'am.
And the will specifically gave you the house?
Yes, ma'am.
And you and the defendant determined that he would remain a tenant in June of 2020. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
There came a time when you moved out, Mr. Morris.
Yes, that's correct.
And what month and year did you move out?
June 1st, I believe, 2022. Correct.
And what was the reason that you moved out?
I moved out because the rent had went up for a second time.
What was it when you were living with Julius?
$650.
And then when Miss Francis inherited the house, did she modify the rent?
She did.
In what month?
I'm not specifically, I can't answer that question.
What did she raise the rent to?
Approximately $1,200.
Was that the first increase?
That was correct.
How long did that increase stay in place?
That had to be for a year. That was the term of that lease.
And what happened after the year?
She raised the rent again.
To what?
Well, that's when I didn't accept that lease.
What did she ask?
$1,575.
She wanted $1,575.
Yes, ma'am.
And you determined that that was too much
I
rent
did.
for you?
I did.
So you gave notice you were leaving?
I did.
She's going to show me what she considers $5,000 worth of damage to the house. I want to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I want you to show me what damage you are ascribing to him from the house.
Okay, I have the pictures here, Your Honor.
Okay.
Danielle and Michael Francis claim their former tenant, Anthony Morris, damaged their property while renting from them.
When did you give notice you were leaving?
30 days before June 1st.
Okay. And when was the lease up?
June 1st, it would expire.
Now, after your brother passed away and you inherited the house, did you maintain the same rent that he was paying to your brother?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So when did you raise his rent and to what amount?
I raised the rent in November.
Okay.
Of 2021.
To what?
To $14.95.
That was the first time you raised his rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you knew what his rent was when he was living with your brother?
Correct.
And how much was his rent when he was living with your brother?
It was $625.
So, in effect, you increased his rent a little over 200%.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. Can I explain the reason to that?
No, it's irrelevant what the reason was.
Okay.
He was paying rent of $625. You raised it to $1,500. Now, at the end of that term, were you going to raise his rent again?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
To what?
It was going to be an $80 increase to $1,575.
Now, during that 2-month period that you lived in the house, you had no issue with regard to the way Mr. Morris maintained the house while you were living there with your brother. And that fact is buttressed by the fact that you maintained him as a tenant, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you saw the way he maintained the house, and having seen that, you continued him as a tenant.
Correct.
And you raised his rent substantially, and he paid that rent.
Correct.
And he paid that rent sufficiently so that you were prepared to re-rent him the house, but you just wanted a little more money.
Correct.
Correct. Now he moves out on June 1st of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And now you say that he caused almost $5,000 worth of damage. And because he had damage, you lost income because you couldn't re-rent the house.
Correct.
You moved out in June of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a new tenant in the house.
Yes, ma'am, I do now.
And how much rent is she paying?
She is paying $2,200 a month.
And when did her lease start?
Her lease started in September.
So your premises was not rented for 2 months.
Correct.
And when it was rented from the 2-year period of time between your brother's death and your re-renting the house, the rent went from $625 to $2,200.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't sound like you're losing any money.
Well, there's
just a second.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like you're losing any money. So I'm not interested in the loss of income that you had. You had no loss of income. Anybody who lives in a house can't rent from June 1st. House has to be painted, normal wear and tear. You may have to redo carpeting. That's the normal wear and tear. Had to be done because that's what you do when you want to get $2,200 rent from somebody for a house. You have to paint it up. You have to freshen it up. You have to do all of those things. So what I want to see from you are photographs of what, other than cleaning out the house, which Mr. Morris acknowledges for whatever reason there was stuff left in the house. Correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
That belonged to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you didn't clean out.
I did not.
Now, you left on June 1st, and I'm telling her that she's going to show me what she considers $5,000 worth of damage to the house. I want to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
You agree that you left some stuff in the house. She probably has a bill for cleaning out some of that stuff. That she's entitled to. Now I want you to show me what damage you are ascribing to him from the house.
Okay. I have the pictures here, Your Honor.
Okie dokie.
Also, can I present in evidence what the room that the defendant rented out, what it looked like prior to the damages?
No, I don't see any damages. I see mess.
There's pictures in there, Your Honor.
I'm looking.
The damages. The carpet was damaged very badly. He messed up my mattress in my second bedroom. The doors was damaged. He actually changed the lock on the second bedroom door and the master bedroom door without my
You see all this
knowledge.
stuff, sir? Shh,
Yes,
just a
ma'am.
sec. This is all your junk, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you should have a substantial bill for cleaning and getting rid of this.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
There you go.
So you paid $760 to clean out the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Make it move in clean.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're entitled to, Miss Francis. $760. You can't leave a place like that.
Also, Your Honor, I had other damages as well. My microwave was broken.
I don't know who broke that. And you don't know.
I know it was working when he was there.
May have been working, may have been not working.
Everything was in top-notch condition, from appliances to flooring, when Mr. Morris was at the house. So he broke my microwave.
Fix it.
I have fixed it, and I'm asking for the cost of a replacement for a new one.
No, wait.
Why not?
Because I'm not convinced, madam, that somebody who, according to you, helped you with your brother, was there and supportive for the last year of his life. He certainly left a mess, which you're not supposed to do, sir.
I understand.
You're not supposed to leave a mess. And this is clearly a mess. And there's no question in my mind that you left this mess because she was quadrupling your rent. But to her, this is a business. And she's not living there with her husband. This has now become a business investment. Yeah. Her investment increased in value. It was really Julius's investment, but it increased in real estate value. And instead of seeing $600 a month, which probably doesn't cover the taxes and mortgage, she now has a profit because she's now getting $2,200 a month from somebody, and that covers, of course, her mortgage and whatever taxes they are. You were annoyed? You're still not allowed to leave a place like this. $760, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
Kind of upsetting because the defendant really trashed my brother's house, given that we considered him like family.
I was like family with them. I took care of the brother for a long period of time. I wouldn't have left the house like that.
And for him to turn around and do this and cause all those damages and then get off scot-free, it's heartbreaking.
Number one, there were no damages.
You know what? Nothing good ever comes to someone who does people like this.
Money does change people, and so you have to be careful.
Be careful who you rent to.
So I just did some research on the home while we were out there, and I found some interesting information just based on some of the plaintiff's claims. So I did find that the house was sold to the brother in 2017 for $123,000. But the plaintiff listed the home for rent for the first time July 22nd for $2,300 listed for rent when she became the owner.
And he moved out in June, beginning of June.
So her claim for lost income doesn't really make sense because she had it listed on Zillow at least. I'm not sure it could have been listed before then. That's just when Zillow picked up on it. I'm not sure how their algorithms work, but she was unable to get the $2,300 presumably because she reduced it to $2,200 in August of 2022. And then it was removed later in August at that $2,200 mark, presumably whoever, the new tenant that she now has.
So she had no real lost income.
Exactly. She had the month of maybe July, but if you have a tenant moving out June 1st, you give yourself 2 weeks notice as a landlord anyway to make the necessary painting, carpet
and sometimes it takes a little bit.
Exactly, and you don't find a tenant right away. So based on that, I wouldn't have given her any lost
income for the He left the house a mess.
He did. He left boxes. He acknowledged it.
He left the place a mess. He left food in the refrigerator, and there's no way in one day, which he said, he was going to move all that stuff out. He was annoyed. Then you can't leave stuff that way. So she got her cleanup bill.
Yeah, while she was.
Tracy Gallen is suing her client, Ronald Webster, for unpaid wages while working as a home aide.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Kevin?
Good, good. Case 2168, Gallen versus Webster.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gallen, you are a home health aide.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to any particular school or have any training to be a home health aide?
Well, I went to CNA nursing school. So I'm
CNA? What is
certified nursing assistant.
And you've been doing that for over a decade?
Correct.
Do you need any license in the state where you're from in order to be a CNA?
CNA, yes. Caregiver, no.
But you have a license from CNA?
Yes, ma'am, and also have a license for a medical assistant.
Now, there came a time when you answered some sort of an ad by Mr. Webster. Mr. Webster had a mother who was ill and needed some assistance in caring for her. Are you a working man, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a caterer and a DJ, and also a driver.
Do you get any salary from any of those jobs?
It ranges from job to job.
Usually, how much?
For DJing, a couple hundred.
Couple hundred for how many hours?
It's basically by the job, the location, things of that nature. So it can vary.
Caterer.
Catering, we're building a family business, so basically getting started with it. Probably made as much as $1,800 before for a catering event. So again, it was brand new prior to the pandemic.
Okay, and what's your steadiest source of income?
Driving as of now.
How much do you make approximately an hour driving?
Now, probably $22 with the subtractions. For
$22 an hour?
Yes.
Is that with or without your tips?
That's with tips.
Did you always live with your mother?
I lived with her for quite some time.
Say within the last 10 years.
Within the last 10 years, I moved out 3.5 years ago. Due to illness, I was staying with her, so I was not really able to work. During that time, I went to school to become a caterer, cook, etc., culinary school, business school, because I did have aspirations to open a restaurant eventually, or a catering business eventually.
So you didn't live with your mother for the last 3.5 years?
No, Your Honor.
What kind of illness did she have?
My mother was diagnosed initially with COPD. I forgot exactly what those words are, but it's a pulmonary. It's with her.
I know
breathing.
it's COPD. It's a pulmonary disease.
You're better than me. Then there's also emphysema, along with some other things that I was not made aware of until she passed away.
How old was she?
68 years old.
A kid?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long was she bedridden? From when to when?
November 23rd until her death date of April 30th.
So all the time that the plaintiff took care of her, she was bedridden?
Yes, Your Honor.
And was your mother pretty strong-willed?
Yes, very much so, Your Honor.
And the COPD and emphysema was in all probability, at least in part, if not in all, attributed to her smoking.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, according to your complaint, Ms. Gallion, you worked for Mr. Webster in taking care of his mother, with whom he didn't live. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did anyone else live with her?
My son lived with her.
How old is he?
He's 29 years old now.
What does he do?
He was working at the time for Tesla.
He was, but he's no longer.
No longer.
But at this time, he was working for Tesla?
He was working for Tesla.
The whole time?
Yes, Your Honor. The whole time from being released from the hospital up until her death day, yes, Your Honor.
Now, the house belonged to your mother?
Via rent, but yes, Your Honor.
She rented it?
Yes, Your Honor.
She was a rentor?
Yes, Your Honor.
So her grandson just stayed there with her?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he slept there, and you were supposed to come during the day?
Yes, Your Honor.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Saturday.
Okay. Now, do you have the ad that you got from the defendant?
I do.
May I see it, Kevin, please? Thank you.
I also have the messages, Your Honor, from that ad.
Let me just read this. Okay, so you were asking for somebody good to take care of your mother because she was a great caretaker all of her life.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very nice.
All of my life.
All of your life.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in it, he says IHSS for now. Would you explain what that is?
It's in-home supportive services.
From the federal government or the state?
From the state, if I'm not mistaken.
And you are from the state of?
California.
Well, this is what he wrote. So when you spoke to him with the same parameters of your employment as contained in his ad, that you would be working for IHSS for now, maybe more in the future. I don't know what that means. I assume it means that if it works out, you'd be paying her in addition to what she was making with IHSS.
No, Your Honor, I don't.
What does it mean? IHSS for now.
Yes.
Maybe more. What does that maybe more mean?
I honestly can't recollect what that meant. I am aware that I did send that text message or that Facebook post.
Is there anything in any of the text messages you have that indicates what maybe more is?
Yeah, just verbally, he stated out of his mouth that anything extra, him and his son would pay out of pocket.
Okay, extra like what?
Extra hours, if the hours that I agreed to work to, if it needed to be extended my traveling time, my toll from where I was driving from. He was supposed to
reimburse you.
Yes,
for.
ma'am.
Is that correct, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Now, you started working when?
February 24th was my first day.
From February 24th until April what?
23rd.
And that was 6 days a week?
It varied because depending on my schedule, so every other week I will work Monday through Friday, and then the additional weeks I'll work Monday through Saturday.
So it's between 5 and 6 days a week. And how many hours a day were you working?
5.
So when you came into work, was the grandson still there?
Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't.
And if he wasn't, Miss Webster was alone?
Correct.
And when you left, was she alone?
Yes, ma'am.
And then hopefully the son came back to assist her at night.
From my understanding, there was another caregiver that was supposed to be there at nighttime, which I never saw, so I'm not sure.
Did you have another caregiver there at night?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who was that?
Her name was...
How long was she there?
You mean her work time or her duration of employment?
Duration of employment.
The same time that Tracy started.
Did she get paid?
I'm not aware of
Just a second. Did you fill out papers for...
Your Honor...
That says it...
No.
If you didn't fill out papers for her, then either she was working for nothing or she got paid from you directly. Before you answer me, you had a nighttime person who was hired at the same time the plaintiff was. Either she was paid from an agency, or she was paid from you, or she did it gratuitously. What was it? Had your son ever applied to be caregiver for your mother? Think carefully before you answer that question, because this one knows all. Had your son ever applied to be your mother's caregiver?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Oh, makes it so easy.
Tracy Gallen claims her client, Ronald Webster, owes for unpaid wages.
Now, the agency, was she paid from an agency?
Yes.
Don't say yes if she was not. If she was not paid by the agency because she didn't get paid, then say she never got any money from the agency. And if you never filled out any paperwork, she couldn't have gotten paid by the agency.
Correct. Well,
why don't you just...
Let me rephrase that, because this is where the trepidation comes along. Neither of the caregivers were properly inputted into in-home supportive care system. So there's an allotment that is allowed where caregivers can work in hopes of having a large lump sum payment once they get their paperwork, background check, and everything else taken care of. So up until the 29th, no one had gotten paid because no one had their paperwork taken care of yet. So it's on the 29th when that starts to come about. So I personally never signed any paperwork for neither of the caregivers.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's what he's saying. Okay. So he signed no paperwork. And she worked for you from February to March, March to April, for 2 months. How much did you pay her in the 2 months that she worked there?
Out of my pocket, I paid her $110 with a caveat. It was the first time that she worked on a Saturday. I asked her to do so because I had...
Just tell me how much you paid her.
$110.
Anything else?
Because I had a calendar DJing event. I was not fielding anything up until that point.
Mr. Webster.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You seem like a nice man. It's going to cost you money. You can either make it easy or make it hard. From February to April, did your son work?
Yes, Your Honor. He worked at Tesla.
Then I'm not finished with you with that. Your son worked for Tesla. I assume Tesla paid him.
I'm assuming he got paid too, Your Honor.
And when you worked as a caterer, I assume you got paid.
I was not working as a caterer during that time, Your Honor.
Were you working as a driver during that time?
I did work as a driver during that time, Your Honor.
Did you get paid?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to the plaintiff getting hired and this other woman, had your son ever applied to be caregiver for your mother? Think carefully before you answer that question. Think very carefully, because this one knows all. Had your son ever applied to be your mother's caregiver?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Oh, makes it so easy. And when did he apply to be your mother's caregiver?
According to the information I have, which I was just made aware of.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a lot of... Your son is in your mother's house.
Yes.
You're there all the time because you're interested in your mother. You are the next of kin. You have to sign off. Did your son sign up to be your mother's caregiver, and when? Give me the month, day, and year that he signed up.
According to the paperwork I have, I'd have to look at it because I don't...
Look at it. You can look at it, digest it. Give me the date. See, Sarah, it's what's on paper doesn't always make sense, right?
Yeah.
You know?
You figure it out along the way.
Follow the money.
Yeah, always.
Always got to follow the money.
Leads you right to where you want to be.
Let's go.
According to the paperwork I have here, his paperwork was started on August of 2021.
When was it signed?
It does not state that.
And she started working in February. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So between August and February, Mr. Webster, who took care of your mother?
My son lived with her. He's, according to this, I was not privy to this information before.
Let me understand something.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is not a House Select Committee investigation, sir. This is just a court where I'm trying to figure out who took care of your mother, who was unable to take care of herself from August until February when you got another caregiver, and whether that person was signed up to get in-home health benefits. So the answer is, partially I know that your son, who lives with her rent-free.
No. I'm sorry, not with my mother, not rent-free.
Lives with her.
Yes.
Maybe not, then maybe Kevin and I are paying the rent. You never can tell. I don't know how much, and I can't ask you how much money your son made between August and February, but maybe she got a little too difficult for him to deal with, because at this in stages of being sick that way, you require a lot more help than you want your grandson to take care of. And so you needed somebody else. Now, I've just about, Mr. Webster, reached the end of creating the picture in this case, but the plaintiff was there, and so far you've given her $100 in 2 months. You got paid during that time period. Your son, who worked for Tesla, got paid during that time period. You can bet your bottom booty that I got paid during that period because I worked. Nobody said to me, well, you didn't get your form in right there. We're not paying you. Really, you're not paying me. You can find me today getting my pedicure. She stayed, even though she didn't get paid. Now, if she didn't work for you, could you or your son have gone out to do their other work? Or would you have left your mother alone? What would you have done?
Possibly made other arrangements, Your Honor.
Possibly. You mean get another sucker to work for free? You think that she should work for free? You think that she should work for free?
No, Your Honor, but I don't think she should smoke cigarettes with my mother alone.
Listen, you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is stupid.
Okay.
Your counterclaim is stupid. You just told me before your mother is the kind of woman that would do exactly what she wants to do. And what you think yourself, since you're not there and off doing your thing, somebody who's terminally ill, not getting better. You knew that, right?
I did know that.
You did know that. And if your mother chose an easier way to go than the one you selected for her, that would have been her prerogative. That's also a fair statement.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you didn't like the caring that she did for your mother, but actually her leaving had to do with your not paying her. You didn't fire her. Okay, let's put it this way. Did you fire her?
No, Your Honor, because I did not have the power to do
No.
so.
You did not fire her.
No, Your Honor.
That's not
Who
true,
put in?
Your Honor.
Who is Ron Webster?
I am Ronald.
You hired her.
No, Your Honor.
Well, this is you. Need a good caregiver for my mom. Need. That means I need.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, let's go to one other place. Okay? And then I'll let you talk. Right now, it doesn't seem to be that you're losing, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
In March, Miss Gowan, where's my money? You know, I'm taking care of your mom. There's no money. What does he say?
He kept blaming it on IHS. He needed to talk to them, and IHS just kept responding to me and was just like, he's crazy.
Tracy Gallen is accusing her client, Ronald Webster, of refusing to pay her after caring for his mother. Ronald claims Tracy smoked cigarettes and marijuana while working.
How much do you think the time that she worked there, taking care of your mother, was worth?
Your Honor, I personally cannot put a price on that. I know she's contracted through IHSS for $16 per hour.
Did your mother have a life insurance policy?
My mother had a couple of life insurance policies, yes.
What were they, and who were the beneficiaries?
I was a beneficiary
Of
both
one.
of
How
them.
much?
The total was $3,700, Your Honor.
Did she have a separate policy for her burial?
No, Your Honor.
Did she own any property anywhere?
No, Your Honor.
So what was the total you received from the estate?
The policies was set to pay $1,300, which I have not received all.
You mean in addition to the $3,700, you'll receive another $1,300?
13,000 is what I meant to say. If I
Oh,
said 1,300, I misspoke. 13,000
13,000.
total.
How much did you pay for the internment, the service, if there was one, whatever? How much did you pay? You paid for it, I assume, out of this money.
I have not done all the math. It's upwards of $15,000 or so. As I'm still
I haven't done all the math.
I'm still
Fine.
making payments.
How much are you owed?
I have it there, 26. The whole breakdown is,
And
the
that's,
amount was 2912 minus the
that's-
300.
You say he gave you 300, not 140.
Correct.
Okay.
He cashed at me 300.
My question is that at $16 an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is what you would have made.
Correct.
Do you have any other evidence to support the fact that he was helping you or that he agreed that this money was due and owed to you?
I have the email here where he was asking me to send a total of hours what he owed me.
May I see that, Kevin, please?
And then this is also the payment that he did pay me, the 300.
Well, this is from you.
Yeah, he asked me to send that to him because he kept acting confused.
But this is from you to him.
Correct.
Can I see your answer to this when she sends you this
I
document?
don't have that email.
Well,
And
do you have...
I'm not sure if there's an answer. I can check my phone.
No. Okay. Now, in March, Miss Gallen, where's my money? You know, I'm taking care of your mom. There's no money. What does he say?
He kept blaming it on IHS. He needed to talk to them, and IHS just kept responding to me and was just like, he's crazy. I don't know why he keep reaching out to us. We keep repeating the same thing.
He said he never
has to
filled
pay
out
you.
forms.
Also, this is the contract that he signed stating that I am the IHS provider. If there's any extra fees that was over the hours that were allowed for her, that he would have to cover out of his pocket.
No, he said he never filled out these forms.
Well, no, that is the contract that he signed. We have to sign that with IHS first to approve me even being the worker for his mom. So once they approved me and I went through orientation, he signed that. He would be responsible for the hours. I kind of marked it on there where it states that this is the contract and this, this is what comes with it. Also, here are the timesheets I submitted.
Okay, not necessary. He acknowledges that he didn't pay you any more than, he says 100, you said 3, that's actually in your favor, $2,612. I suggest you take it out of the $13,000 that you received from your mother's life insurance. I'm sure she would like her caregiver paid, the one who took care of her in the last couple of months of her life. Your counterclaim, which is ridiculous, is dismissed as for the reasons I already said. The fact that the defendant may have either smoked with or allowed your mother to smoke in the last couple of years of her life is ridiculous. You're the one who said to me, my mother is my mother is my mother. She'll do what she wants to do. Not something like that. Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're done. So's your counterclaim. $2,600.
This court is adjourned.
My mom's death, I've been doing everything I can to make sure that she was taken care of. And, it's unfortunate.
I'm really happy with the decision today. I was glad that she was able to see through all the lies and everything.
The plaintiff would give her cigarettes to stash for her so she would not overindulge herself smoking cigarettes.
Yes, I would go and get her the cigarettes because that was her last thing that she wanted, so.
At best, while taking care of my mom, she did a pretty good job with that. I've never denied that. I've also wanted her to get paid.
Just blamed it on IHHS and there was no really reason for him not to pay me at all.
I've been ready to put it behind me. This has been a nightmare since my mom's death and right before that. So I'm certainly glad to get it behind me.
I really did give her the best care that I could, She was happy. She was very happy, so I'm okay with everything.
Cases like this are sad, but it really shines the light on the whole sector that is elder law. And there's so many federal and state programs to make the elderly and vulnerable feel more comfortable, to be able to stay in their home, to be able to pick their own provider. But unfortunately, because of all the overlap and lack of oversight, there's a lot of fraud that takes place with the most vulnerable population. And like you were just talking about, your mother is the one that you rely on for a majority of your younger years, to keep you alive, bathe you, feed you. And towards the end, it's just unfortunate that they don't receive the same care as we do in the beginning.
Yeah, that not being watched as carefully by the people that they cared for.
Yeah, but the plaintiff here surprised me. I mean, working 2 months, 5 days a week.
And she stuck with the job.
For no money and no real end in sight for when she was going to be paid. I respect her for that. She obviously cares about her business and about her craft as being a healthcare worker, so I appreciate that, but it shouldn't fall on kind-hearted people like that to take care of our elderly.
Maybe. Not sure. Yeah. I think that not everybody is fortunate enough to have children.
Yeah.
If you have children that fit into that mold. And I think that it's wonderful that the state, for those people that don't have loving families to support them if they're sick or elderly, for the state to provide a mechanism for those people to get from their bed to a bathroom, to another room, to a meal, perhaps. I think it's wonderful. I think that this country, Sarah, can't do everything.
Yeah.
And I know that we discussed a moment ago, not bringing in another case, but to me, when you don't give money to somebody who did work in the betterance of society, and you send stimulus money to prisoners who were there because they did something wrong, and you send $1.2 billion in stimulus money to people who are serving life terms in prison, to me, doesn't make sense. But perhaps somebody will straighten me out a couple of cases from now.
Karen Heckendorf is suing her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, for an unlawful eviction, extortion, and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2156, Heckendorf versus Zarzosa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Heckendorf, who is this gentleman?
This was an attorney I hired in Mexico, kind of in the middle of the night when...
He's an attorney?
In Mexico.
Okay.
And my witness.
Okay. So, trying to piece this complaint and answer together, you purchased a home from Mr. Zarzosa?
No, Your Honor.
He purchased a home from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. He purchased a home from you in Mexico?
Yes.
Where in Mexico?
About 5 miles north of Rosarito, maybe 10 miles south of the border.
How long have you owned the home?
I owned the home about 5 years.
How much did you pay for it?
When I bought it was $180.
How much did Mr. Zarzosa pay for the house?
$245.
On what date did he purchase the house?
February the 9th.
Were you present at the closing of the house?
I was.
When you closed on the house on February 9th, how much money did you receive?
I was supposed to receive...
No. You were supposed to receive $245,000. How much did you receive?
I received a cashier's check for $15,000.
15?
$15,000. I received cash, $4,500. And I received the next day through a wire transfer 4.6 million pesos or something like that. I have the paperwork.
Just tell me what that translated to in dollars.
It was $220,500.
Okay. Well, if you have proof to how much the translation of pesos to dollars is, that means that you got a total so far without the down payment. Did he give you a down payment?
Yes, $5,000. I was paid for my house. I was paid for my house.
No, I understand that, but this is the problem. Mr. Zarzosa says that when he took out the mortgage, he increased the amount that he was borrowing so that he had closing costs covered to the extent of, I think, $3,800 or $3,900.
It was a total of almost $10,000.
No.
Oh, $3,900.
That's what I asked you. What's $10,000? $10,000 comes out of nowhere. It was a difference, you said, of $3,900.
Yes, ma'am.
And so he wanted from you the difference.
Well, the realtor gave me...
Not the realtor. He wanted from you...
The realtor told me that. I've never really spoke to Dante except for on February 22nd and the time that he came and looked at my house. But the realtor sent me a fake statement, which I looked at because it's a high school kid's piece of paper, and I said I was not making a refund.
Okay. Well, you have to make a refund if you were paid more for the house than you're bargained for with the purchaser.
That's true.
That's true.
And the bank told me on April 1st...
No, they can't tell you anything.
Oh, really?
If they documented something to you, then I'll read it. But you can't tell me what a bank told you. First of all, banks don't speak. Now, I'd like you to get what Mr. Zarzosa is handing me.
This is from the bank.
Well, I can't read this, but what I can't read is in Spanish, but I can read the numbers, which indicate that you received, Ms. Heckendorf, a total of $249,544.22. Let me see.
May I see that, ma'am?
Absolutely.
Because this is what that bank gave me right here. And I did go with my witness to the bank on April 1st, and they told me that
A bank can't tell you anything.
They told me that was the correct amount.
A bank can't tell you. They can give you a document, which I will read, but a bank can't tell you anything.
This is not really a case about this contract.
Yeah, it is. It started this way.
They're saying that that bank sent me the wrong amount of money?
Yes. That's what it says. That's what that says.
That's what this says.
That's what that says.
I imagine anyone can write what they want, but I was not paid the wrong amount of money.
Well, the bottom line of it was, eventually you gave him back $2,800 of the $39 that he said that he was entitled to. Is that correct,
No.
Ms. Heckendorf?
No.
You never gave him $2,800?
I signed a contract and gave him $2,800 under duress. He took my dogs and my cat, and he took my property.
I want you to understand what I'm saying to you. When I ask you a question, I expect an answer. You gave him $2,800, and you gave him the $2,800 because he believed and told you that he had taken out extra money in order to cover his closing costs. And you got that money, and he wanted that money back because he was going to have to pay for it through his mortgage.
I have never heard that these were closing costs. This is the first I've heard about closing
Well,
costs.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to
never heard about closing costs.
Stop talking. Stop talking.
Okay.
And I'm keeping it very simple. Okay. You're going to want to keep it very complicated, and I, madam, are going to keep it very simple. So the bottom line is you stayed in the house for free.
Karen Heckendorf claims her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, extorted money by keeping her pets in property. Dante is countersuing for false accusations and lost wages.
Good. This is your piece of evidence. Your piece of evidence says that you got $249,544.22.
No.
That's what it says.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, that's what it says. You gave him $2,800. He wanted $3,900. You gave him $2,800. What you're suing him for
He also
is
wanted $2,500.
I'm going to dismiss your case.
Okay.
It's just as easy for me to send you back to Mexico. Once you closed on this house, according to what I looked at, Ms. Heckendorf, you asked if you could stay in the house because your new house wasn't ready to close escrow. Is that correct? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
And so you closed the house on February 9th, and he allowed you to stay in the house. When were you supposed to vacate the house?
March the 1st. I paid $2,000.
That's a date, March 1st. And between February 9th and March 1st, how much did you pay him in rent?
I gave him the money from the casita.
Just a second.
Yes.
That's an amount between February 9th and March 1st.
$2,370.
So that was a month's rent. Is that what you received?
No, Your Honor.
How much did she pay you in rent between February 9th and when she was supposed to vacate March 1st? She would have paid you rent in advance.
Nothing.
Show me proof that you paid him anything for rent on February 9th. Did you ever receive from this agent $2,370?
No, Your Honor.
Well, do you know who he is?
Yes, I do know. That's the realtor that represented both of us on the purchase.
And you never received, this was on February 9th. He acknowledges, he signed that he received $1,620 as in for the last month's rent and $750 security deposit, as well as prorated rent of $120. I don't know what prorated rent is for.
It was for the end of January. They moved in a few days before.
Who moved in?
The people that rented the casita.
And that's part of the house?
Yes.
What is that?
I have two houses on the property, the one I lived in and the casita. And Dante gave me an email that if I gave him this money from the casita, that I could live in the front house until March the 1st. I have that
Just a
email.
second. When he bought the house, did he or did he not buy the casita as well?
Yes, he did.
So he bought the casita as well. So it belonged to him. This rent belonged to him.
Only
So
if I
what do you mean?
rented
He's
it.
not giving you anything. If he buys a house and there's another property, he owns that property. He owns whatever rent was due for that property. So what you're saying is, let me cut to the chase. What you're saying is, you claim, he said to you, I've just paid you $250,000 for your house, which includes the casita. Your house isn't ready yet to close escrow. I will let you stay in the house free if you let me keep the money from the casita's rent.
Yes.
Oh,
And I have
fine.
an
So that
email.
the bottom line, don't speak, it doesn't look like you're losing so
And-
far. I may not be finished with you.
And
So
I hadn't rented
you're
the
speaking,
casita.
you're trying to speak over me.
Well,
and I'm keeping it very simple.
Okay.
You're going to want to keep it very complicated, and I, madam, are going to keep it very simple. So the bottom line is you stayed in the house for free from February 9th or 10th until it was supposed to be until March 1st. That was your understanding. You were staying in his house for free.
I didn't have to rent the casita.
I don't care whether you had to or whether you didn't have to. You were staying in your house that you sold to him for free until your new house was ready. That's a yes.
I felt that.
I don't
but
care
guess
how
if
you
you want to
feel.
look at it
I
that
don't
way,
care how you feel.
Okay.
You sold him your property and you took advantage of a piece of that property, the casita, in order to negotiate yourself a free 3-week rent until your house is ready. Now, you may stand there and look at me in that smug way, but you and I both know that that was a deal you made for yourself.
Yes, I agreed.
Okay.
I agreed to rent the casita ahead of time before I moved out and give him the money so that I could stay in the property until my house closed escrow 1 week.
Pretty tricky.
May have been March the 6th.
Pretty tricky. Bottom line is you stayed in his house for free.
Okay.
And then what the rest of the case is about is that you claim that he changed the locks on the door before March 1st, and in the house you had your pets. And he held ransom your pets until you gave him what turned out to be $2,800. That's your complaint. He changed the locks on February 28th. Where were you when he changed the locks?
February 22nd.
22. Where were you when he changed the
I was
locks?
in my office in San Diego.
Okay. And how did you find out that the locks were changed on the door?
Dante sent me an email that I found later admitting to what he did, but
I asked you a question.
I was at my office, and he called me on the phone, and he said, "This is Dante Zarzosa." And I have
my way.
Mm-hmm.
He called you in the office. That's how you found out he changed the locks. That's an answer. Approximately what time did he call you in your
It
office?
was about 6:30, 6:45 in the evening.
6:30 p.m. And tell me what you claim he said to you and what you said to him.
This is Dante Zarzosa. I have your 2 dogs. You're never going to see them again if you don't pay me $3,900.
Now, that wasn't the first time you had heard about this $3,900. That was not the first
time. I heard about it on February the 9th. No, the 8th. Sorry, February the 8th, I'd heard about it.
And so you told him after that you would, or you told him, or you told your lawyer, is that you? Yeah, now you can stand up.
I met him.
Shh, don't speak.
Okay.
On what date did you get your pets back?
Well, I didn't actually get them. My friends went and begged for the animals.
Don't tell me what they did.
They gave them to, and they gave them to my
Stop, please.
Sit.
Karen Heckendorf has accused her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, of extortion by threatening her pets. Dante claims Karen owes him for making false accusations.
Your last name, sir, is?
Mena, Your Honor.
Mena. Mr. Mena, you're an attorney in Mexico?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a real estate attorney?
Yes, civil attorney, real estate as well.
You understand what this is about, and you understand if you're a real estate attorney that sometimes people take a mortgage that's beyond what they need in order to cover their closing costs. You understand that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's not an unusual thing. I bought and sold many homes. A lot of people do that. And when were you first made aware of the fact that the defendant was at least claiming that there was an amount that he had incurred debt on by way of a mortgage in excess of what your client in Mexico was supposed to receive in the amount of $3,900?
February the 22nd, something like that.
2/22. And when she came to your office, now we no longer have attorney-client privilege, sir, because she's brought you here as a witness, so you're going to testify to every conversation that you had.
Absolutely, yes.
You understand that?
Absolutely.
Okay. She came to your office after she found out that the locks were changed.
Actually, I was at home. That was at night.
So when for the first time, sir, did you hear about this money that the defendant was claiming that he was owed?
Mr. Dante called me.
I want you to answer my question.
Yes.
My question is, when she called you the night of the 22nd at your home, did she tell you at that time or soon thereafter that there was a discrepancy that he was alleging with regard to the closing fees?
Not actually, no. No,
she didn't tell you anything. She told you that he just illegally evicted her and changed the locks.
Yes, and at the same time, because of some situations regarding a deal she has on the sale of the property.
Your client knew, as of February 8th, that the defendant was alleging that she owed him money from the closing costs. That's clear. That's what she told me. Now, they had clearly ongoing discussions about this from February 8th or 9th, when the deal closed and she got her money and she's living rent-free. So what I want to know, when did she share with you, not that there was an illegal eviction, not that her pets were in the house, when did she share with you that he was claiming that she owed him money? And I'm not excusing self-help. When did she tell you that? Because she knew it at the beginning. She knew it before she called you.
I have the communication from Mrs. Karen at the time we filed the complaint in the DA office, district attorney office. This is the time when she expressed me the whole facts.
Oh, so she didn't tell you the whole facts when she called you at home on the 22nd?
No, because she was very worried. She was concerned regarding the babies.
Don't tell me that. Okay.
That's it.
Now I got it. So I got what you're dealing with. I understand who I'm dealing with. Okay. On what date did you get your pets back, Miss Heckendorf?
The 22nd.
Okay. What time?
Well, I didn't actually get them. I got them the next day because my friends went and begged for the animals.
Don't tell me what they did.
They gave them and they gave them to my friends.
Stop it, please.
Sit.
Yep.
I just asked you when you got your animals back. So you got your animals back on the same day as he changed the locks on the house. They were given to friends.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So they were returned to you the same day because if they were given to your friends at your direction, your friends were your agents.
Yes.
Good.
Only the dogs. He had my cat the next day.
Did you have a cat or was it an outside cat? Is it an outside cat?
Outside cat that lives indoors, and they put the doggy door down so the cat couldn't get out.
Okay.
He told me he had my cat.
Okay. When did you give him the $2,800?
About 5 o'clock on Wednesday, the 23rd.
Is there a writing of the exchange of that money? I'd like to see it. I can't read this.
The plaintiff has a translated version.
Can I see the translated copy, please?
Can I speak?
About what?
About that paper?
Yeah.
He was the one that drew it up. He could tell you, Your Honor.
No. I want this. Did you draw this up?
Can I see it?
Yeah, sure. Kevin, give it to him.
Thank you.
Did you draw that?
Yes, I participated.
What does it tell me?
It's translated.
Don't speak. Do you have the translation of this document?
Yes, I gave it to you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, number 5, very clear. This is the agreement that Mr. Zarzosa receives from Ms. Heckendorf $2,800 for concept of refund of pending payment. The previous amount is received fully. Therefore, the debt is liquidated. And number 6, the seller, Ms. Karen Heckendorf, grants the broadest waiver derived from the investigation file presented before the district attorney's office. I assume that that was your complaint, and with a file number filed against Mr. Zarzosa by not keeping any legal action present past or future derived from the present business.
This is the police report they're talking about.
I don't care what this says, is you've settled all of your disputes with each other. This says you've settled everything that had to be settled. Okay, but what the translation suggests is by this document, each of you understood that you were giving him money. He was not going to follow through with anything that had to do with the criminal complaint or with a criminal complaint against him. You went your own merry way. Am I crazy, or is that what this document says, sir? You are the lawyer.
Yes, it says so.
That's what it says so. So I want to know why you're all here bothering me. You settled everything. You got back your stuff. You got out of your house. You got your personal property. He has a counterclaim for false accusations and loss of wages as a result of whatever. This document says you've resolved everything with each other. So why are you here?
I did not sign that document under usual circumstances. I hadn't had any sleep, and I was coerced. And he said he was going to burn my furniture or he was going to sell it in the year that it would take me to prosecute him under this Mexican contract.
Put it down, sir. The case is over.
If he wanted to
The case
sue
is
me,
over. You're a pretty savvy lady, madam. You had an attorney that you consulted. He was there when this document was signed.
He wasn't on the real estate deal.
He was here
He
when
was only on this
Goodbye.
deal
We're
in the
done.
middle of the
Case is
night.
dismissed. So is your counterclaim.
This court is adjourned.
this was really a case about Dante taking my animals for hostage and extortion.
I didn't steal anything.
The only reason I agreed to give him $2,800 was because he said he was going to burn or sell my furniture.
I'm going to enjoy my house. Thank you, Karen.
That lady was never intimidated into anything.
I don't think so either.
She knew she had gotten an extra few bucks at the closing. She knew that she was really living there rent-free, which is really very nice. You buy a property, letting her stay there for almost a month. I have little sympathy for him because he resorted to self-help, went to the house, even though he knew she was still there, and changed the locks. But that document clearly indicated that both parties at some point said, okay, enough. I'm getting out of the house. I'm getting my belongings. My pets are back. Yep. Here's your money, and finished. Well, when you make a settlement, you've made a settlement. You don't get to make one settlement in Mexico and another one in California.
Agreed.
That's not the way.
Xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh nàng tiên cá và hoàng tử đang nhảy múa nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thế nào? Sẽ tô mái tóc ra màu đỏ. Màu xanh đất Việt đôi. chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một siêu nhân đang bay nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Mình sẽ tô màu đỏ vào đây. Sẽ tô màu xanh này. Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh công chúa Bạch Tuyết và hoàng tử đang nhảy múa nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Mình sẽ tô màu vàng cho áo của Bạch Tuyết. vấn. Mưa bơm đỏ. Tóc mình sẽ tô bạch tuyết màu đen. Hoàng tử tóc mình sẽ tô màu nâu. Sẽ tô màu xanh đậm cho nhau. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một ông già Noel đang cầm một tờ giấy nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Tô màu đỏ. Trước tiên là mũ. Áo màu đỏ. tô màu nhỏ. Silicone nên cho luôn ngoài. Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đây đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về một bé gái đang cầm một giỏ hoa nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thế nào. Hôm nay mình tô màu hồng. Màu nâu cho tóc. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chiếc bắp ngô nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Mình sẽ lấy màu này, tô bắp ngô. Mình sẽ tô màu xanh này. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một cô nàng đang búi tóc rất là xinh đẹp nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Tô chiếc nơ màu hồng. xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chú Donald là chú Patty nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thế nào.
Nào bóng. Đi khởi cơm đi, bật lại đi. Thế